salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're all set with the manifest. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the manifest.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Visitors and public comments. The Literacy Committee. Pam and Kathy, would you like to join us?
We would love to. Thank you for letting us come again this year to give you an update on our Dr. Seuss activities for 2013. This year our theme is Reading Rocks, and our activities are centered around different meanings of the word rocks. Staff will receive a packet either this week or next week with a listing of all of the different activities that we will be having, and a lot of reference material for them to use with their classes ranging from primary to secondary levels.
Actually, we're going to start preparing some activities next week in art classes. We've arranged through the tailors to get several hundred rocks donated, and Ms. Bemis will be doing pet rocks with the students, which will be housed here and will go nowhere, so we will not have to worry about rocks being thrown anywhere. But we thought it might provide a nice opportunity to read to your pet rock or some reading buddy activities.
Our wonderful kitchen staff and cafe services has come up with a month-long menu that will include different items based on Dr. Seuss titles of books, and we're kicking off on March 4th with Stone Soup, of course.
March 4th kickoff will also include a school-wide assembly, and we have Granite State Zoo and Wildlife Encounters coming back for the 3rd consecutive year. This year they're going to bring animals that live in rocky areas or have something to do with rocks to fit our theme.
Our trivia begins on the 4th and runs for the entire week. Winners will be drawn at random, and they'll receive a gift certificate to our book fair that starts in April.
Okay. Reading logs will also go out on the 4th. Students will be asked to log their reading minutes, and there will be some incentives and prizes that go with that.
And this year, classes are going to have some time built into their reading period for sustained silent reading to encourage kids to read for enjoyment.
Okay. Out in the front foyer, we're going to be putting a book donation box again, as we did last year. We will be collecting gently used books for Believe in Books. They're a nonprofit literacy foundation based in Intervale, and they work to get books out to students in the Mount Washington Valley.
Our Literacy Committee will provide suggestions to parents for reading with their children in the Wakefield Weekly.
As we have done in the past, we are going to present our kindergartners with a book and have a special celebration. In keeping with our theme, the book this year is Stone Soup. The Lions Club has generously donated money to help us purchase those books, so we're very thankful for that. The book reception is going to happen on March 6th. They're going to get to watch the Magic School Bus Journeys to the Center of the Earth, have an ice cream social, and families will be invited.
On Thursday, March 7th, we will have our Classroom Reader Day. We are hoping to be able to supply readers to all grade levels and all classes. I invite you to join us again this year. I'm going to leave you a little sheet. Hopefully you'll put your name and the day that you might be available and a preferred time. We will do just Thursday for grades 3 through 8, and our kindergarten, first and second graders who run centers have asked for some additional readers to come in during their center time, so we'll be filling in those slots that they've requested as well.
Our IA teachers are going to do a rocking activity on Wednesday, March 13th. They will schedule half-hour activities in the gym, and we'll be on an early release schedule that day to allow for that special, those special activities to happen in the afternoon.
The Lions Club has also provided us with some money to purchase books toward our raffle that will be held on Thursday, March 14th. We are hoping again this year to raffle off 100 books.
Since literacy also should include math literacy, we are in the works of putting together a Pi Day celebration on March 14th. And we are looking to put together some evening activities for students and families with staff, so there'll be more info coming on that. That's just come out in the past couple of days.
On Tuesday, March 19th, Rick Wilcox from International Mountain Equipment in North Conway will be coming to do a slide presentation with our students. Rick has climbed Mount Everest in 1991. He owns the International Mountain Climbing School, and he's also president and team leader for Mountain Rescue.
On Friday, March 22nd, we have Carol Ford coming from Tin Mountain Conservation Center. She's a teacher and naturalist, and she's going to work with our students in grades 3 through 6. She's going to give them some history on the old man in the mountain and give them some insight as to why it fell.
The Cat in the Hat from Believing Books will be joining us again this year, and we'll be reading a rock story, of course.
We have Hempstead Stage Company coming in again. They are presenting the Sword in the Stone to K through 8. That's on Wednesday, March 27th at 9 a.m.
We are going to have a math guesstimate activity. We will have a jar of rocks on display during the week of March 25th. Students will have the opportunity to see the jar, but they won't be able to turn the jar around. And they'll be making good guesses as to how many rocks there are in our jar for a prize.
As we move into April, again, we will be celebrating National Poetry Month and encouraging our students to pop a poem. Students that choose to write a poem will earn a bag of popcorn, which they will receive during the lunches on April 15th.
For the past 2 years, we've had a breakfast at the end of our Dr. Seuss activities where we recognize the student in each classroom who has read the most minutes and invite their parents or family members to join them. We are again going to do that on Tuesday, April 2nd at 8:45.
As we said before, we're logging minutes. The class in each age grouping, K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8, that logs the most minutes will earn a special activity in April.
We invite you to join us for any and all of the activities that you would like to. Come and read with our students. Come and visit our activities. We have a calendar for you, and because reading rocks, a little guitar bookmark for you. And I'll leave this. And please feel free to sign up.
Everything.
Thank you.
This is everything. I was just going to ask you to remember it. Really? I'm sorry. I should have handed it out first.
Thank
I'm going to take a shorthand.
Thank you.
Do that during correspondence.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do that. I didn't see that on the front when they handed it to me. So I just opened it from the back. No problem. All right. I wanted to take them first because they were here, and the superintendent reminded me I'm supposed to be doing a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to expend funds from the computer capital reserve. And Jerry, you were going to get us some numbers and...
Oh, I don't know. I had those and I didn't bring them with me.
It's to purchase 3
it's
computers.
It's to purchase 3 iPads and Rhino kiosks. To replace the computers that are over here, over on the far wall. Basically, they're out of date. They're difficult to maintain. The iPods would be locked into only our homepage for the library to check out books. It makes it a little easier. They're locked in a kiosk, so the iPad slides in, it locks in. Kids can't change the homepage. You can't walk out with it. It's attached to the table. And it will make things much easier. The kids are all familiar at this point with using iPads. We have 120 in the building. And they're up to speed on how to use them. It makes it much easier for them to take the books out. We've had the self-checkouts for a long time, but our computers are kind of falling apart over there.
Okay.
It's much cheaper than buying We're a Mac building pretty much at this point. To replace with a Mac book of any type would be close to $1,000 a piece, whereas an iPad is about $300 a piece.
And there's a direct need for these over here?
Yes. Oh yeah. They're all but they're held together with bubble gum and
Well,
duct
no,
tape.
I'm not questioning
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
that these, but I mean, these do need to be, there is a need to replace these?
Oh
We
yes,
don't-
yes.
We can't just do away with the older ones? I mean, there is a need to replace them, and
What we're replacing the computer with an iPad. So is that what your question is, Steve? Do we
yeah,
need to
I mean,
replace
is there an actual need that do we need these computers right here?
Wasn't
mean,
there
this
something
compu-
about it wasn't working properly
They're
with
not.
the
Yeah,
Alexandria?
with Alexandria, the computers won't upgrade to what we need. The computers are, they're not functioning properly.
Right.
Yeah, it's the need to replace them. Yes, it's a matter of what we replace them with.
But I guess what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is there a need to have 3 in the library with all the other computers and iPads within the school?
Yes,
There's
there
a
is.
direct need to have 3 iPads for use in the library?
Dedicated just for checkout.
Just for check.
Just for checkout.
I'm just looking at the minutes from last week, and it was $2,884, and it was for 4 iPads.
Was it 4? I'm
And
sorry.
the kiosks.
Yes.
Andrew, what do we have left in that capital reserve?
I don't have that information with me. I wasn't aware of that. I needed that.
I want to think for some reason there's not that.
Yeah, I didn't think there was 28 in there, Judy,
I
but
think
we
it was
also
like-
we were going to balance that out with what we had in the tech line.
Right, that's what we had
Yeah.
talked about. I just don't want to make a motion to take it out of the capital reserve and have it not, the money not all be there. And I'd like to leave $1 in that capital reserve to keep it open,
Okay.
so we can add to it in the future if we need to.
We could certainly wait until the next board meeting to have that number, and we could have that number for us, I'm sure, and that wouldn't be an issue. We're not going to fall down if we don't have it next week.
Then you'd have to have another public hearing, though. This is a public hearing.
But
That's the,
Could you wait till 2 weeks for our next meeting? to
Well, that's
have
what I'm saying. I
another-
was saying the next meeting. I don't mean next week. I'm saying that we could wait until the next meeting, Priscilla. Again, I'm not overly concerned that we're not going to have them next week. We could certainly wait until the next board
so
meeting.
you just have to make sure you post another public hearing.
Well, the public this can certainly suffice for the public
Oh,
hearing
okay.
portion of it. And then it
Oh,
would
that's
just
a
be
good
a
idea.
matter of voting
Yeah, she said we
once
could
we have the
recess this hearing.
exact numbers.
Recess this hearing to a point, to a date uncertain.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, does the public have any comments regarding the purchase of computers for the library? No comments? I'll make a motion to recess the meeting until the meeting of 2:20? Would it be
Yeah,
2:20?
14 to today.
I believe so. That sounds about right.
Second?
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Also, at the next school board meeting, we had talked about having a public hearing for the warrant article on the separation of the SAU. So could you make sure that those 2 are posted, Jay?
Yes.
Minutes of last meeting. Page 1.
I got Warren's name.
You got Warren's name, okay. And under old business number 2, he then suggested a barcode system for more expensive, is that comma supposed to be there?
No.
Items purchased with grant funds. I don't think the barcoding system will be just for items purchased with grant funds, so maybe if we just put for more expensive items purchased.
Sure.
Am I right with that?
Yeah,
It's not just the
not
grant.
just grants. And on page,
I think actually that you might have misinterpreted the correction that needs to be there.
Okay.
I think, I think the word items needs to be duplicated. He then suggested a barcode system for more expensive items, comma, items purchased with grant funds, comma,
Okay.
and non-portable
okay.
items.
Okay.
Oh, well, which is the way I wrote it.
no, you left
No,
that
you
an
left an
item.
You need an extra, you need
Another
another
item.
item.
Okay.
Want me to read it again, Deb?
For more expensive items, items purchased.
Right.
With grant funds.
Okay.
And on the first number 1, the warrant articles, the board needs to determine who which speak. I don't know to which.
Who will speak,
Who will?
I think.
I'm sorry, where are you, Liz?
The first number 1.
Who will speak to each?
Or who would speak.
Under Mrs. Nason announced. Warrant articles.
Would it be more appropriate to be will or would?
Either one.
Page 2.
The third number 2.
Mhm.
They hope to have a functioning data system functioning. I don't think we need both functionings. Pick one.
We hope to have a functioning data system by summer's end.
Yeah.
Take out the second one. Under school board business number 4.
Hold on, I'm having trouble finding the,
Third number 2.
oh, okay. Using grant funds that hope to have a functioning, a data system functioning by,
Take out the second functioning.
okay. Got it.
School board business number 4. I believe it's Mr. Kendrick.
Yes.
And I just have a question on pulling everything together for refilling. I don't quite get it.
Refiling, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know what's intended.
Refiling.
Yeah, it was refiling. That was for the approvals.
Is that refiling with the state or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's refiling the report on
Where
which
we
they
were
determine
delinquent
academic
in,
approval.
yeah.
Page 3.
Number 2 again. I'm not with, of course, I wasn't at the meeting, so paraprofessional defeat.
That's the actual article.
If
If
this
it's-
article's defeated, we will.
Okay, okay.
I was just trying to give.
Okay,
just
I
a-
wondered if we had defeated them in some way, and I
No.
didn't know anything about it.
No, if the article's defeated. Page 4.
Actually, we don't need, next to the bottom line, we don't need those 2 commas.
After fund, you mean?
After current and obsolete.
Oh, okay.
Page 4. Under committee reports, number 1, last sentence, going out to parents, should it be plural?
You're on page 4, did you say? No?
Mm. Did you
Yeah,
have
it would
something
make
else
sense
on
for it
this?
to
Oh,
be
that's all
plural.
right.
Yeah. You all set, Liz?
Yep.
Probably under committee reports at the end there where it says Mrs. Nason reported Crow had raised questions. It was one of the security people that was at the Crow meeting. I saw it on TV.
Yeah, it's the, I believe his name
The
is.
IT guy from Rochester, was
Yes,
it?
Mike something, I don't believe his name was Mike something, and he's the IT guy from Spaulding.
So if it was changed to reported that the IT coordinator from Spaulding has raised the question at a Crow meeting, might be better.
Okay, hold on. Just, so I've got this. Mrs. Nason reported that the Spaulding IT coordinator
Yes.
at a Crow meet, had at a Crow meeting had raised.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Anything else on 4? Page 5.
Yeah, the last two sentences of the second to last paragraph, I believe, are inaccurate. And I would request an explanation for, at the very minimum, an explanation as to what it says in those two sentences.
Which two,
Well-
Steve?
The vote was 1 for, 0 against, 1 abstention,
That's correct.
right? It's the next sentence that I question.
Although
I
Mr.
question
Merkel
it too.
will continue to review the question, it was determined that for the moment the motion is deemed to have passed. That is what was said. So
Yes.
the minutes are accurate as far as
Well,
he
but-
will continue to review the question.
Okay, but...
And we did determine for the moment the motion is deemed to have passed.
Okay, I guess that's, I'm questioning that because I don't think there has ever been a time in history that 1 for, 0 against, and 1 abstention makes a motion pass.
I did call Barrett Christina and questioned him about this. Under Robert's Rules of Order, in fact, the motion did pass, if you're going by Robert's Rules of Order. And there's nothing in our policy under quorums that changed that. He suggested that a policy, and he was going to do some research on it and consider it a change to New Hampshire School Board Association policy, that the policy could read a majority of the members present. It's not in our policies that way.
I still don't see how that can pass. It's not a majority. How can a non-majority motion pass? It can't.
My interpretation, because I asked some questions about it too, is it's a majority of those present and voting. So first you have to have a quorum. If you have a quorum, the majority of those who vote carry. So it's theoretically possible you could have a 1-0 vote because those that didn't vote opted not to vote.
A vote, someone not voting or
Abstaining.
abstention does not count as a no vote.
No, I don't. Okay, well,
I did question it. I did
Okay, all
call
right.
Barrett and I
That-
questioned it, and according to Robert's Rules of Order, and I did go on,
this
and we,
this constitutes a problem.
it
Just to let
generally,
you know.
okay, I understand that, but I'm just telling you
Okay.
what I did check into it, and that's what,
Because, I mean, how is our policy worded that we,
all our policy says under quorum is a
under-
majority of,
we generally,
that's correct,
we
it does
generally
say
go by
generally.
Robert's rules.
It does say generally.
If we were going to generally go by Robert's rules, but now when it's convenient, we're going to go strictly by Robert's rules, that presents an issue.
I was just looking for a
Okay.
determination, and I asked Barrett, is there any law on it? Because I was looking to clarify it, and I asked if there was any law, and he said no.
Because if we were going to go strictly by Robert's rules when it's convenient for certain members of this board, then maybe that vote would have come out different. But now, after the fact, now we're gonna state, or someone's gonna state, well, now we're gonna go strictly by Robert's rules.
I'm not saying we're going to go strictly by Robert's rules. I'm saying that I called Barrett, and Barrett said according to Robert's rules. I'm telling you that our policy book says we generally go by Robert's rules. I'm just telling you, I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you what I was told.
I don't see how a non-majority motion passes.
He suggested that we put a policy in place so that it is a majority of the members present. Not present and voting, but a majority of the members present. That was a suggestion to change our policy.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
under this procedure, every single school board from here on out can assemble as 5, but every single vote might come out 1-4 and 1 abstention and call it passed.
Yeah. You're opening up a huge can of worms.
I'm just the messenger.
We better change the policy.
Well, was what I
Yeah.
was thinking. It should be a quorum of
Those present.
those present.
Which is the way it's been done until now.
Well, we've never had this type of vote come out on anything. So I've never seen that happen, so. Would the board like us to address the policy?
I would. So.
Okay. Let me write a note so I don't forget. Quorum policy?
Yeah.
We do meet next week, so
Of those present.
let's get back to approving the minutes.
Did he give you any specific information as to what part of Robert's rules that this supposedly passes?
I don't have it right off the top of my head, Steve.
Excellent.
But you can call him.
Or I can have someone else call him.
Anything else on page 5? Page 6.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Does anyone have any changes to the non-public minutes? If so, we'll wait till non-public. If not, we can approve those.
I'm okay with them.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Priscilla, you okay?
Yeah, I'm
So-
fine.
All set, Steve?
Yeah.
You want to make someone make a motion for
I'll make
that?
a motion to approve the non-public minutes as written.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything under old business? I've received under correspondence, Pricilla just handed me a letter and asked me to please read it aloud. To the Wakefield School Board, dated February 6, 2013. I made a decision after our last board meeting to resign from the Wakefield School Board. My resignation is effective immediately. This will give the board the opportunity to appoint someone before the March election if you choose to do so. I have never been a quitter. I don't believe I've ever quit anything in my life, but I feel I have no other choice. My being on the board does not benefit the students of Wakefield right now, and the students should be the main focus. It is imperative members come together to share the same vision to be productive. Board members should demonstrate the ability to conduct themselves in a professional manner at public meetings, stating their positions effectively and politely to fellow board members. I'd like to thank the town for their support. It's been a pleasure working with the Budget Committee, Selectmen, Town Administrator, Town Committees, also faculty, SAU staff, and current administrators. My 5 years as a board member have been amazing, exhausting, frustrating, exhilarating, and it's ending in a very disappointing way. I have worked countless hours because that's what I signed up for. I leave with my integrity and self-respect intact, knowing that I did all I could possibly do. To continue to beat my head against the wall would be fruitless. I leave with great sadness and not much hope. Pricilla Colbath.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. I wish you would stay on till the end of till election time.
It's not a good idea.
Okay.
Do we need to vote to accept
You
that
do.
resignation?
Yes. Is there a motion to accept?
You can move it. You can move it if you want to.
Oh, okay, I make a motion to accept my resignation.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Discussion? I don't think it's right, number one, for someone who's going to put in their resignation, to number one, designate that the board will, not assign, but what's the word? Appoint someone before the March election, number one. Number two, I don't think that would be appropriate, especially due to the fact that there will now be 3 board members who will no longer be on the board as of the March election, and I would think it would be wise and fair for any appointment to be held off till after the March election.
If you had listened to my letter, then you would know I didn't say this is an edict. It was something, if the board chose to appoint somebody, you could.
It says the opportunity. That's
Pardon
something,
me?
that's something for the, it says opportunity
Right.
to appoint. That's something that
Okay,
the
well,
board,
I
that's
just wanna
something
make
the
sure
board
that
will
that's
decide,
vividly
Steve.
explicitly clear. And I would not expect that this board would be appointing someone before the March election.
Well, that's up to this board to determine.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I just
We'll
said.
decide that.
That's what I just said. I don't think it would be fair or right, especially when you have the majority of the board won't be here after the election.
Point of order,
Yes.
Madam Chairman. All we have to do right now is vote on her
Correct.
resignation.
You
The
are
details
correct.
of what might or might not happen
Exactly.
can come up at a future meeting.
That's correct. I would like to make an amendment. Can I make an amendment to that motion?
I made a motion.
Can I make an amendment
It
to the
depends on what
motion?
it is.
You can propose one.
I was just going to add with the words "with regret."
Oh, thank you.
So there's a second for that.
Steve
Steve
seconded
had
it.
seconded it.
No, a second to add the words "with
Oh,
regret."
oh.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All right.
Abstain. You're abstaining from the amendment? I mean,
No,
from the
the-
motion itself? And the amendment vote was 4-1.
Just add with regret.
Correct.
4-0 and 1 abstention.
That's what I was clarifying.
4 to 1.
4 to
The
1.
the amendment was 4-1, the motion itself was 4
4 to
0
0.
with
One.
one abstention.
Any other correspondence? So I Financial reports. Actually, Chris Farrow and Ruth are here. Do you want to do the food service survey results and cafe services out of order so they don't have to
Yeah.
sit and wait for...
That's fine.
I'll scoot down to there. Okay, food service survey results.
That was Chris Farrell and
Ruth Chick. I was just giving her your name, Ruth. Yeah. Yeah.
I can get a copy if you want it.
I'm going to let them go ahead and I'll go back to it. Chris, you did a survey of the students?
We did.
And we did parents and we did teachers, I believe.
Right now, I just have the results to the student survey.
Okay.
I believe parent and teacher is still ongoing. We're still collecting responses. So.
Okay. Do you have copies for us? Or?
I do.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to introduce, before I start, with me tonight is Bill Van Zandt, who's the Vice President of Operations for Cafe Services.
Oh,
Good evening.
nice to meet you.
Thank you.
While Chris is passing this out, what the superintendent was reminding me was that we did receive correspondence from Ed Como this week via email, also regarding the 2 revolutions that was done at the SAU meeting last week. Did you want to address that at all, Ed? Your email to us regarding 2 revolutions?
If you looked into the links and everything else, if you haven't, then...
I personally haven't had time. I did read your email, but I haven't had time yet to read the links. I don't know if anybody else did. So we'll do that, and at the next meeting, did you want to address us?
I'll bring more information with me just to follow up on.
Okay.
So we'll just add it to the next agenda.
Yep. Okay, Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. So this is just a report based on the results we got from the student survey. We worked with the administration and were able to do a survey with all of the students in school as part of the health class, I believe. This survey really kind of breaks down into 2 sets of questions. The first few questions pertain to quality and satisfaction. The rest kind of pertain to student preferences. So the first question on the survey is about the friendliness of the cafeteria staff. A large majority of the students, 77.6%, agreed or strongly agreed that the cafeteria staff was friendly. The second question got into whether the students considered the food good or not. Majority of students, 42.6%, said they agreed or really agreed that the food was good. A fair percentage of students, 27%, decided to express no opinion, while smaller percentages disagreed or really disagreed that the food was good. As far as choices on the menu, which is the next question, again, a majority of the students, 39.9%, said they agreed or really agreed the menu choices are good. A slightly larger percentage than the first question of students, 30.1%, decided to express no opinion, while smaller percentages, again, disagreed or really disagreed. The next paragraph gets into a little bit of synopsis of these results. We take a look at those results, and in this case, really what jumped out was the amount of students who decided to express no opinion. And it does kind of correlate to the percentage of students, which is 23.3%, that have indicated that they've never tried the food in the cafeteria. Really, when we look at those results, what it tells us is there's still a part of the student population that we have not enticed to come into the cafeteria. And we use the information from the next section as well as some of the student meetings we started conducting and that kind of stuff to learn what we can do to get the kids who sometimes come into the cafeteria to come in more, the kids who haven't even tried it, what we can do to entice them to try it. The next set of questions begins with kind of a matrix the kids can fill out with specific food choices and what they like and don't like, whether it be in the cafeteria, outside the cafeteria, just their general preferences. The students at Paul School tended to gravitate more towards stereotypical kid favorites. I gotta stop putting hard words in there. Such as grilled cheese, mac and cheese, tacos. Home-style fare, things like meatloaf, roast pork, scored lowest, as well as eclectic options such as chili and fajitas. We've already started incorporating this into future menus, where we'll still be offering some of those different choices, you know, some of the home-style stuff, some of the eclectic stuff, to try and get some variety and interest in the menu from some of the population. But we will make sure that as we write future menus, we're focusing even more on the traditional kid-friendly favorites that are really what the student body is interested in at this point. You know, it's part of a progression where things like those style of meals, whole wheat products, that kind of stuff, we find as time goes along and as kids get used to the program offering those type of things, acceptance of those type of products go up. So we're going to be working on that balance. The last two questions in the survey were open-ended questions where students were asked about their favorite foods in the cafeteria and what they would like to see offered in the cafeteria. Some of the top responses for favorites currently offered in the cafeteria were pizza, cheeseburgers, mac and cheese, tacos, popcorn chicken. Again, you know, the traditional kid-friendly recipes you would think of. When it came to what they wanted to see in the cafeteria, there was a really wide variety of choices. There was several more variety of things they asked for. Some of the ones that popped up the most were chicken nuggets, ice cream, corn dogs, different varieties of pizzas such as stuffed crust and tacos. So basically, the way this works with our survey process is now that we've gathered this information, what we'll do is we will take some of that information from especially these things they said they had preferences for, what they like, they don't like, they want to see, and we'll incorporate that into a marketing program called You Said It, We Did It, where basically we will post, you said on the surveys that you wanted this, that you liked this, that you wanted to see this changed. We'll post what we're going to do about changing it, and then the kids will actually see those changes in the cafeteria. We found that this process really gets kids interested and involved in the lunch program, and helps boost participation and just general interest in the program. The next step in the survey process will come in a couple of months when we work with the administration again to do another round of surveys with the same questions, to see what the difference is and what the changes we've made have had for an impact in a quantifiable term.
Judy, may I?
Go ahead.
This, the results that we were just handed, these are the same results from the Paul School Student Survey and SurveyMonkey?
Yes, what that is, that's the raw data from the survey, from SurveyMonkey itself.
The only thing, the figures are nowhere near what the report is that we just received.
They're exact, actually.
Okay. The first question, you have 77.6% agreed strongly.
Agreed or strongly agreed.
Okay.
And if you add those two numbers together.
So you combine them.
Yep.
I would think that something like this, I think, would be a little better to see where the areas are that we need to improve, rather than combining them. My concern combining them is, why is it that some don't agree strongly and some just agree? You know, because it adds a little more to it. I kind of like this better, to be able to see why they're answering the way they are.
And that's why we made that available as well. This kind of summarizes and synopses all of it, and doesn't just give you the raw data, but gives you some of our thinking behind it and some of what we do with the information.
Do you have copies
That
of what you have?
29-page document is kind of unwieldy to present. So
This is actually 29 pages, so if you'd like to look at them, And this is the actual survey. Oh, this looks great. I just don't think it gives as clear a picture. And by combining them, I don't think we're seeing some of the things that we're hearing. And that's my only concern, is that what we're hearing is totally different than what we're seeing. So that's what I'd like to kind of get, you know, get more information on, you know, because we're getting, we've had several complaints which we've read, and you've read them, they were handed to you.
Unfortunately, no, they haven't been.
Well,
You have not
gave them to our
received the
superintendent.
complaints? I asked you to pass those on, Jay, to Mr. Farrow, the ones that you got last
We
week?
spoke about that on the phone.
Yeah, I have been told that we've received complaints. I did receive one by email forwarded to me. I haven't had a chance to view any others yet.
There were 2 written ones at the
Okay.
last school board meeting.
The one by email was the one I forwarded.
Actually, I got it from Jerry.
Right, I sent it to Jerry. So the others
Where
you
are the
haven't
other
seen.
2?
Do you have the other two?
There were 2 other
And
letters.
that's-
All I got were 2 complaints. And they
So
were
what we
not
need to do is-
signed, they were just anonymous, and I was told by our attorney, if they're anonymous, you don't do anything with it, because if they don't sign it, you don't know who it's coming from.
Well, I don't really agree with that. I think that the people, you know, this is a pilot program, and everyone in our community knows that. We tried this out. Whether or not we go forward, it's important to know how our parents feel. We're not the ones sitting in the cafeteria eating the food. The children are. And although this is wonderful, I think that gives a clearer picture. I mean, you're saying 77% are in favor. Well, okay, some are very much in favor, and some just agree, and some, you know, really agree, strongly agree. But the bottom line is that if we're getting these complaints from parents, I don't want it brushed aside. It's every parent isn't, their opinion is important.
Where are the complaints going from the parents?
The complaints came, and we turned over to the administration, which is what we're supposed to do. So if they come to any school board member, we turn it right over to the administration, and then we were advised that they were being turned over to Cafe Services.
Okay. All right.
And
Is there any communication with the parents and Ruth or Chris directly?
no, not that I,
Generally
not,
speaking,
honestly, not that I
places
know
we
of.
operate, that's, you know, we try to have a direct line of communication. 'Cause
I don't
food is-
think we'd
food is very
recommend-
perception-based.
Right.
You know, in this particular year, with the regulation changes and the things that the programs have been through, and even the feds actually coming back and pulling back on their programs and the drastic changes they made, it had a lot of impact on the ability to change, or to change quickly, or to change at all.
Right.
So, you know, there's a lot of factors here, and I think communication is really, you know, it's best for all of us. You know, and direct communication, I've always found to be the best method of communicating. We're open to it, we're food service people, we're thick-skinned, you know, we hear good and bad every day.
Right.
It's a tough business. You know, you can ask 10 people, you know, is that a good steak? You'll get 10 different answers.
Right.
You know, that's the business we're in, we accept that, and we don't take it personally.
I think
And we
we're gonna
just try
leave it up to the
You know, but
administration.
we just try and make it change, so I'm suggesting maybe that going forward, maybe we should work a little bit more on the communication directly with Ruth, because she's here every day. And also keeping Chris in the loop, and they can also report to you, and it can be a combination of both. It doesn't have to stop the other communication, but add to it.
Well, I think, you know, I truly feel that's up to our administration, because our policies are that if anything comes to any school board member, and we're certainly open to, you know, speaking to everyone in the community, but it's not up to us to go directly to Ruth or
No,
Chris.
I'm just saying,
or
if a parent in the community, if we were able to
Then we
present
tell
this
them to
maybe
go
through
through the
website
chain of
and give
command.
Contact information for Ruth or Chris, you know, we can add to that, not take away from it, not stop it, but just maybe add to it and give them another avenue of communication.
And it's
Well,
not-
maybe something on the menu, the parents get the menu
That's kind
every
of what I'm
month.
thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe there should be some telephone number or
There-
point of contact on the
Is
menu.
that on there now?
There is.
So we're just not getting anything.
Right.
Okay.
I just want to
And-
clarify that the complaints were not brushed aside, they were communicated to Cafe Services. I just didn't send them the complaints because I was told they were not signed by anybody, they were anonymous, and they're meaningless. unless someone signs their
Well,
name.
I wouldn't agree that it's meaningless. I don't think any complaint from any parent is meaningless, and, you know,
Well, if parents could
I,
complain, they need to sign their
you
name
know,
before to go any further.
rather than look
Honestly-
at the legalities of whether it's meaningless or it's anonymous, the point is, it's a parent who has a concern.
How do
It
you know
needs
it's
to
a
be
parent?
respected and addressed.
And Viv, I would agree with you. Any parent concern, absolutely, I don't want to ignore, none of us want to ignore. We actually appreciate when parents come and give us the negative and the positive, whatever they feel about the lunch program. If we don't have those direct conversations with people where they can say, hey, you know, you do this okay, but I'd like to see you do this better, we never know.
Okay.
If we don't get that feedback, then we don't know what the community wants to see us do better, do differently. And we're happy to hear it, because our whole goal is to create a program that as many people as possible are happy with.
And, you know, and for us, every district's so different, even towns side by side.
Right.
You know, their wants and needs are totally different.
Mhm.
You know, so if we don't know, we can't fix it. You know, and we're amenable to do just about anything that we can. One of our primary responsibilities to Wakefield is to be in compliance. So if there's something that jeopardizes that, then we certainly have to address that, and what we do is communicate that through the admin teams and let them know that if, you know, parents say, well, I want X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I want Big E chocolate chip cookie bars. Can't have those anymore. And things like that. But we wouldn't just brush it away. We'd make sure that the communication went through, explanation to the parent, you know. It just sounds like we're missing a little bit of communication here.
Oh, I agree, but that's because
How
that's...
often is a management person actually in the building?
I'm in probably on average about once a week. And then Ruth is
Ruth's
here every day.
Well, I know Ruth,
She's the
yeah,
chef
she's the
manager.
food service director.
Yep,
She's,
yep.
yeah, I understand that. I'm just wondering, part of this service was management services, and I'm just wondering how often
And that's every week?
there's actually somebody here in
No,
the
there
building.
may be, I said on average once a week. I mean, there may be weeks where I'm here a couple of times. There may be a week when I don't make it up. But on average, about
You know,
once a
and when
week.
we opened up, I mean, we had 4 different corporate personnel in here, training, going through purchasing, going through sanitation issues. So, you know, there's a lot more to it. Ruth has access to all these people all the time. You know, Chris isn't alone. There's 3 other people that are on the road for us that are managing accounts. So in the event that anything happened and he wasn't available, there's an instant backup to that.
There's actually also a couple of mentors assigned too, which I had in the next packet of information. I don't know if you want to move away from surveys and get into general
I
food
think we
service
have,
program, or-
do we have the results of the parents or
We do.
the staff surveys?
So there are results to a parent survey?
There are,
They were given to Mrs. Telefero, our school.
Okay. Have they been given to food service?
they haven't yet, no, because as far as what I've told, there's still some out.
I would think if they're out, we're probably not going to get them back. I mean, that's typical of a survey. If you don't get it back immediately, you're not going to
You're
get it
probably
back.
not going to see it.
Right.
Do we have copies of that for the board?
Well, it's a tally, so I don't know whether or not you want to address this, or if we should have this formally done and given to Cafe Services. And
It would seem like we might have a more fruitful discussion if we were able
To
to
look at
share that with
everything.
them
Yeah,
and
so-
have everybody look at it so that we can
Yeah.
talk about it intelligently next time.
Yeah, because this was really quick and it was just finished. So,
That's staff or parents?
this is parent, the staff is completed, and I don't know if the administration has shared that with them. But I can pass it to the board to see.
Is there just this one copy?
Yes. The other one is comments. And that's the staff one that they did online, through the Survey Monkey as well, the same way that the students.
There was
All
only
right.
one survey set up for students by food services.
Right, this one was for the staff.
The
This
school
was the
board had
staff.
set one up that,
Oh, okay.
Or the
Was that
wellness
through
committee.
your own survey monkey? Okay.
yes, I can give you the results, I do have that.
That would
It
be
won't print out as
Yeah,
well as
Extremely
yours
helpful. And
did, but I
again,
can.
too, you know, this feedback, if
Right.
it comes to us, we can do something about it. If it's done, you know, outside of working with us, there's really nothing we can do about that because we don't have the information.
Well, can't we just get copies and give it to them?
Yeah, I think that we need to make copies of both
Just
the
do that, Nate?
staff and the, well, we're not going to be able to discuss it tonight because
No,
we all
I mean-
can't sit
I
here
give you
and
the
read
staff.
it and
No.
take the time to,
You want to do it now?
but both the,
Those are the comments.
These are the teachers?
Yes.
I have some questions on the survey.
go ahead.
Your second chart, I'm not understanding it. I would think if the greatest number thought they were agreed or really agreed, that would be the high point of the line. And then if it's 27% decided no opinion, that would come down about halfway, and then the smaller percentage would be down to the bottom. I would think it would be a line similar to the first chart, starting at the top.
Again, the agreed and really agreed were combined because those are students who are happy with the program.
Yes,
The
I'm not.
actual single category that was highest was no opinion. Out of all 5 categories, the one highest category in that was no opinion.
So 27% is higher than 42.6.
No, 27% is higher than either really agree or agree looked at separately. When they're combined, what it is it's a combined total of the kids who are happy with the program. That is 42.6%.
Well, how can no opinion be up over 100?
That's in numbers of responses, that's not a percentage.
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
So then it's not a majority of students are in the highest.
The chart shows numbers and below it describes percentages.
Well, how many kids were surveyed? I guess that's my question, because here it's,
All of our students, Judy. All the students that were there during health class on that day.
well, how many is that?
I think,
Did
I
think
did
there were-
400 students take the survey, I guess is my
If you
question.
look on the full survey, the 29-page report, when you get to the open-ended responses, it's got the number of responses, and I think it's 398.
Or 398, 389, something like that. It's on the last page. The last page has the number.
No, it's on the full report, on 29 pages.
Oh, this one, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, at this point, I think what I would like to see is I would like to see all 3 reports. And I'd like to have copies of those. I'd like all board members to have copies of those, and Cafe Services to have copies of those, and the administration. And we will continue this discussion at a future date, because we all need to be looking at the same thing here.
Need some time to look at it.
Yeah, we
Right,
need
plus
to.
all those, they're all comments that they put themselves, so,
Right, so it'd be nice to have some time to look at
right,
it.
and this one's special.
Liz has another question.
I'll put them all together.
On
in
the
a
color
copy.
chart of foods that you like, now none of the top favorites are listed among those, so your question had to be just what kind of foods you like, and not what kind of foods in the cafeteria do you like.
Correct.
Okay,
That one is trying to gauge what the kids like in general,
okay.
not necessarily what they wanted in the CAF. The next question is specifically what they liked in the CAF.
Okay.
And that was open-ended responses. I put some of the top ones, the full list of all 200-something responses
Okay.
within the physical.
All right, so I'd like to see whatever the, was it 39-page report?
29.
29-page, I want to see your 29-page report. I want to see the staff's, however many pages that is, report. And I want to see the parents' report with comments.
Okay.
Including the ones that were not signed.
Well, those letters were given to Jay. We don't have that.
You sure of them? Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no,
Andrew
these
has it.
were in sealed envelopes, and they were handed over, so.
But we've been talking about this for as long as I've been here, that we need to get people who have a concern in direct contact with the person they have a concern with. And as you have correctly stated, we cannot respond to a problem if we don't know to whom we need to respond. So Andrew summarized those and shared them in summary form with Chris, but on advice of counsel, there's nothing to act upon because there's no one to respond to. We can't respond when we get when we get anonymous complaints to my office or to Jerry's office, we can go out and try to look for information, but we don't have anybody to respond to. We've had this discussion on multiple occasions, so
Well, we're sending mixed messages. First, you tell the parent you can't go and address anyone that you have a concern with. You have to go to the administration. Administration then takes it from there. And then you tell a parent, well, no, don't go to the administration. Go to the person you have the concern with. So what should we be telling parents?
It should not be a mixed message. If someone has a concern with anything that's happening in the school,
Right.
they should talk to the person with whom they have the concern. If that's a classroom teacher, they go to the classroom teacher. If that's food services, they communicate with food services. And if they go to another layer of the administration, I had a phone call from an upset parent today. I talked to the gentleman for 45 minutes, and I heard everything he had to say, and I communicated which level of the administration his next step was with. I'm not going to act on it. I took the information, I shared it with the correct level of administration, which was at the building level, and said, here's what I'm hearing you say. Here's what I think your needs are. It sounds like you and the building principal need to have a conversation about these particular aspects of what you're sharing with me. It didn't happen to me in this district, but it was in Milton. So I hear and I help the person find the correct person to talk to. So when board members or anyone has a complaint and they share it with the administration, our role is to get it to the right people and say, Chris, Mrs. So-and-so in Wakefield has a concern. Here's a copy of the communication. I have spoken to her, or a board member has spoken to her, and has shared with her that they can expect to get a call from you. And what I do when I forward those is I would say, if it was to Jerry, I would say, I have told this parent they will be getting a call from you. I need you to call me back and let me know when you have had the communication with that person. So I know that we've closed the loop with the person that has a complaint. But if I don't know who that person is, all I can do is say, Jerry, somebody called, they're upset about something, here's what they're upset about. And Jerry will say, well, what do you want me to do about it? You know, if there's any way you can look into whether or not it actually happened and try to reduce the likelihood of it happening again, you can do that. But other than that, I can't tell you, because I can't tell you whose problem it is. So we can't do a whole lot with anonymous complaints. We do the best we can, but we can't solve the problem for the person if we don't know who the person is.
Well, I don't know that we want to see parents coming in the building and going to the kitchen and say, I have a complaint. You know, but if the number's on there.
I mean, I don't really think that's the avenue we're talking about. I think the avenue we're talking about is when someone contacts with a complaint, you know, that complaint should get passed along with who that person is, so we can reach back out to that person and say, thank you very much for caring enough about the food service program to express your opinion. We'd like to hear what your concerns are. We'd like to talk about what we can do to rectify the situation.
Okay,
That's the way we like to work with that.
One of those two did have did have a name on it.
And that's the one that was forwarded. Yep. They have that.
No, that was another one.
There was another one that I handed you at our meeting. That
There
was
were
signed
two
by
from
a
the
parent
meeting.
with a name, and
At which meeting?
Our last meeting.
The last school board meeting that I attended?
No, our last school board meeting 2 weeks ago. There were two letters given to the administration. One was signed by a name, and one was signed anonymous.
and then prior to that was our first meeting with Andrew, and I handed you a letter that was signed by a parent.
You handed me a letter?
Yes, I did, right in front of Jerry and Andrew. And this was
At the food service committee meeting?
yes.
That
Well, this
never-
was the
That was never
first-
handed to me. That letter was sealed. You said it needed to come to the school board.
Not that, the first one, not that one, the first
If
one.
we can just get copies
But
of any
let's-
communications that are out there,
Absolutely.
I think that would solve the issue.
Okay, and we'll get...
One of the big things I want to stress to everybody is that, you know, this is really, we view this as a partnership.
Mhm.
You know, when we train our staff, the first thing they do when somebody calls, whether they're happy about something or disgruntled, first is thank you. Because we're not kidding when we say if we know, we can fix. If we don't know, we can't do anything about it. And we're operating 46 school districts, and every community is so different. So this communication piece is critical for us to be successful. The second part of that conversation is this has got to be a partnership. And I'm proud to say that when Brian Stone and I started this company in 1993, I still have my first account, which is Mascoma School District. That's because we have a partnership. We don't lose locations because we're here to blend into the community, not be cafe services in Wakefield, but to be cafe services in Wakefield. And if we can do that successfully, the students are the ones that win. They really are. Because we can create the program that you want. It does take longer for all of us than we'd like at times, but it can happen.
Okay, so for this, as far as the surveys go, we're all going to get copies of them prior to our next school board meeting. And I don't know if you'd like to attend, Chris. It's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What's the date of that?
The 20th.
20.
And we will check our records and make sure that any complaints that we have, that we know who they're from, that they have an opportunity to respond to those complaints.
Right.
Okay.
Well, even the ones that are anonymous, you said you wanted copies of
Yeah, we
everything.
want to hear everything.
So,
even if we don't know,
which is
who
what
to
we
talk to,
assumed you
it'd be
had.
good information to have, regardless. So there's no worries
Right.
there.
Okay.
On the monthly reports that you give the district, you total up the breakfast, a la carte, adult lunch, and then you have total sales and government reimbursement, which equals the total revenue. Under the total sales, is that for like full-paying people?
Any cash revenue that's received,
Any cash revenue that's received that month?
yeah. So that'd be adults, it'd be any a la carte, milk sales, lunch, breakfast sales, anything, special functions, anything.
All right, so
that's
Chris,
cash.
could you just look at this and make sure I'm reading this right then? This is the report that we get. So this is the number I'm looking at here, the current month.
Yeah.
That's actual revenue. And this is year-to-date actual, this is September, so it's the same, but
Right.
like, on all these reports, this is actual cash received for the month, and this is for the year. And this is what you had budgeted originally, what you thought, what you were projecting to work, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anything else for cafe services?
I did have some information presented on just stuff that is going on in the cafeteria now. I don't know if you guys
Great,
want to
if
see
you
that.
want, if you have something you'd like to. Thanks.
Sorry, I ran out of color. So just a little did-you-know packet to talk about some of the things that have been going on in the cafeteria. We started offering expanded menu offerings to grades 5 through 8 in about November. Started off with just a small menu in the caf, posted in the caf with a few extra salad and sandwich options. We've now moved it onto the main menu because we found people weren't noticing it enough that it is there. So if you look at the next page, it's got the main menu. And down in the bottom right-hand corner, you've now got a section called Middle School Specials that details some of the extra items that are available to the middle school kids. We've also held our first food service committee meeting a couple of weeks ago and started incorporating their suggestions as well as the suggestions we're getting from the students.
With no vinegar on the green beans.
Exactly.
June bug.
We partnered with the teachers. I believe one of the teachers came in and talked about this earlier. They're doing a Reading Rocks promotion and Dr. Seuss promotion. The next page in the packet is our March menu, which is a completely themed Dr. Seuss menu, including fonts from the books,
We don't have
as well as
that.
2 weeks of menus inspired by.
This one?
Yep.
The next page.
That's February. I don't, oh.
You don't have March?
I don't have March, sorry.
Yeah, I've got a March.
Thanks.
You got it?
It's got 2 weeks of Dr. Seuss themed menus taken from the books, as well as the fonts taken from the books and all that. one of the most exciting things that we've got coming up so far is we're able to partner with Jerry and start offering a made-to-order deli for the 7th and 8th grade. We started that this week. So far, it's gone pretty well. We did about 12 students the first day without, on a soft rollout, without them having advance notice. We did what you said, it was 25 today?
Today there was at least 25.
So it's doubled in 3 days. Jerry and I were talking about some of the logistics, and it's actually an idea that was given to me by Viv. We're thinking it's going to be possible to go with a dual line, move a piece of equipment out into the very front part of the cafeteria, expand the made-to-order deli, and offer it to 5 through 8.
That'd be great.
Yep. And I will tell you too, this is going to be, if we are able to do this, and thanks to Jerry's help, I think we'll be able to do it, this will be the smallest physical layout that I've ever been able to pull off a made-to-order deli.
Small.
Yep. We're currently working with the Wellness Committee to expand the variety of beverages offered to the students in the vending machine. We had a couple towards the beginning of the year that, for price concerns on the student end or weren't quite in line with the Wellness Committee, that we took out, and we're now working with them to find more variety that will actually fit within the wellness policy. We've begun distribution of our monthly health and wellness newsletter. If you look at the last couple of pages of this. This is a publication that will be getting sent to your school monthly to get put on your website. It'll also be on the Cafe Services website, and the school can choose to print it home and send it home as well. And it's really geared towards being an online publication where there's links that people can follow. This quiz here is static, but there'll be some interactive quizzes and other stuff just to help promote health and wellness in your district.
Question, Chris,
yeah.
before we go any further. With the menu, we addressed this before in a meeting, in that we expected to have a sandwich every day as an option, including the sun butter, but would also be a sandwich of the day. And we did express our concern that a veggie stacker is considered in place of a sandwich, and the cheese and cracker stacker or veggie stacker. And I know that the whole board agreed on that, was that we wanted to have, that's great to have that, but we wanted to have always a sandwich as well. And I noticed that it's still on here.
Yep.
In place of, which we had asked that it be in addition to. Could we possibly still offer that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was just an oversight.
Because that's, yeah, well, that's one thing the kids look for.
Really easily. Yep.
You know, if they don't like the hot lunch, is to have the sandwich, and they all love the sandwiches, but if they don't like the sandwich of the day, at least they have the sun butter. And just some of the kids, some of the complaints I'm getting is that from parents is kids are hungry. And obviously because of, you know, you have to go by the guidelines, but if we can somehow add more of the veggie stackers or more the fruit cups. You know, one of the other things was the fruit cups. It was supposed to be fresh fruit in a cup, and it was canned fruit in syrup, and that's not what
Well, there's always going to be a combination there,
okay.
always, just because of the commodity food program. In order to keep pricing the way it is, I mean, we have to utilize that program. So the only canned fruit, we don't buy canned fruit necessarily,
Okay.
but generally, if we have an opportunity, you might even see some fresh mixed with some canned fruit. But you'll see some of that canned fruit because we have to utilize that program. Because those cases of food are coming in at $2 a case. It's allowing us to be able to make sure that we're financially responsible. So there's some of that. None of it's in heavy syrup. That's been going for a long time.
Okay.
But I understand that, you know, hopefully the mix will be appropriate. But if you do see it, if you see it every day, then that's a problem.
And that's one of the things, is parents who did come to that meeting, you know, back in April, and they saw the cups that we were handed these cups with this wonderful fresh fruit, and these cups with these wonderful vegetables, and they were fabulous. And that's what parents are expecting to see, and that's not what we're seeing. And this is the general, to you know, to really wrap it up, that's basically what's happening, is people going back and say, listen, where's all these things that you said we were going to have? And the presentation was phenomenal, and we couldn't wait to try it all. And the vegetable cup, just having all the sliced vegetables and having the dip, having all the fresh fruit, and that's the big thing, was fresh fruit, not canned fruit, fresh fruit. And you had the dip, and it was having the sandwiches. The sandwiches looked fantastic. It was the salad, And it's not what we saw in April. And I think that's the only thing, is that's the only way to really bring it, it's not what was presented. The parents were sold on what was presented. And it was phenomenal, but now we're seeing sandwiches that are not wrapped. You know, they're half unwrapped, the bread is hard, they're not offered sandwiches, they're offered veggie stackers in place of, but no sandwich of the day. It's either the sun butter or nothing. And we ask that we always have a sandwich. They should have had a salad. They don't, you have the 3-cheese salad.
Right.
Kids don't like cheese. Why can't they have just the tossed salad as an option every day? Can't they just get a plain salad? We asked that before. That's still not happening.
Well,
You
it
know?
says here, a specialty entree salad and a garden chef salad. So
And the
that
garden
tells
chef
me
salad
that there should be
is-
2 different
The
salads
garden
there,
chef's-
not just one.
Yes, and there is, and the garden chef salad does have cheese on it, and this did come up at the food service committee. And we talked about offering the cheese on the side, because
Right.
one of the things with the regulations is we have to offer that protein component. One of the things that we haven't straightened out yet, that we're working on to make that happen, to put out those garden salads with no cheese on it, is a lot of the cheese sticks are not becoming part of the meal. We're going through more cheese sticks than we're serving those type of meals.
Also, when
So we're trying to work that out so it works properly.
with the parfaits and the nacho stackers and the veggie stackers, I thought those were great, but again, I thought that every day we were going to have a sandwich, and those were extra things that were going to be
There's an a la carte.
available. And you were supposed to be making those a meal too, so it could be
Yes.
charged as a meal.
Yes. And what we did, when we started the veggie stackers and the fruit cups here, we started them as a meal, because your students don't have a knowledge of what an a la carte program is at this point. They know they go into the lunch line, they can get a meal. It can cause confusion to be able to buy extra stuff. And even when we were talking about starting to sell a la carte snacks at the Wellness Committee meeting last week, some of the teachers were very hesitant about that in terms of, are the kids going to be buying stuff instead of their meal and all of that kind of stuff. It would take some work and some training with the kids to have them understand that component of it as well.
Well, what
Not
I
that it
guess
can't
I'm
be
saying
done,
is
but-
if somebody comes in and gets a veggie stacker, are they getting the rest of the stuff that goes with that
Yes,
to
the
make
veggie
it a
stacker
meal?
comes with a roll, a piece of fruit, and a milk.
And I don't
And
see
cheese
that
stick, I'm
sufficient.
sorry.
And what?
And that is not sufficient for these kids. They're hungry. Teachers are saying the same thing. The kids are complaining they're
The hunger
hungry.
part, I agree with what you're saying about the sandwiches and stuff like that.
Right, so
That's
the
an easy
sandwich
fix.
would be a little more.
That'll happen real quick.
Good.
But the hunger part,
Yes,
this has been going on since the beginning of this year.
right,
This was a huge impact in, there was actually more food on the tray, but less food that was being consumed.
right.
Okay, so kids were, I'm dying, I'm starving, and they get it. And that's part of why they rolled back that regulation. With that kind of stuff, it's awful difficult. We try to be as creative as we can, but the bottom line is this program is not designed to fill up children. It's designed to give them a third of their RDA. That's it. And they're classing this to this in the same group, and a totally different need.
Right.
And that's a shortcoming of the USDA regulation. We try and do as best we can with it, but, if the expectation is every kid is gonna be full after they eat, full for the rest of the day until they get home.
Oh, no, but I think just having a veggie stacker is not sufficient for a
Well,
child.
You're right, but, the reason that we try and do these the reason we're trying to do these different things is because it's the difference between eating something and eating nothing. Consumable nutrition is what we're trying to base the program on. Some of these things I just heard, we can fix those pretty quick.
Well, it's just like, we saw the fresh rolls to have salad. I haven't seen that.
Right. And you should. You should.
But we're not. And this is where
Right.
we're getting, is what
Right.
was presented was phenomenal.
Right.
What we're getting is not what was presented.
Right.
That is the bottom line.
So we'll just have to follow up on that and get back to you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and please
And I'll
have
see- you'll
the
see
sandwich.
You'll see some differences. I want to say one thing. Ruth has done a phenomenal job here. Her world got turned upside down, smacked around, thrown
Oh,
around.
absolutely, absolutely.
It was a totally different situation from what she was in. We're still having some internal issues regarding some of the procedures and policies and getting people to follow what they're being told to do. There's some of that still. No specifics, but it's still happening. We're working on that. I don't offer it as an excuse, just as an explanation of some of the challenges that we have. These programs come together a little bit slower sometimes than we'd like. Some of this stuff, you'll see as soon as tomorrow.
Well, we talked about the deli food. Remember, one of the concerns I had was the kindergarten, first and second grade, about getting the deli sandwiches and being able to get a deli sandwich and getting lettuce. Well, that's not even happening now, and here it is 6 months later.
Right.
You're just now offering to 7th and 8th grade. So, I mean,
Well, they're not going to get a built-to-order deli, and the younger kids, you never get them through in time. There's no way.
or even
Yeah,
just
but,
the,
what, 20 minutes?
or just the, because
You know.
we talked
But,
about.
I mean, there should be a pre-made deli sandwich offered.
Exactly.
Well, you know,
And
That's kind of the deal.
there
That's-
is.
Okay, there is. Okay, speak up.
Sorry, again.
Get out here.
Not everything.
No, it's in place of, you can see it right here on
Yeah,
the menu.
that's-
It's in place of, and there should be a sandwich every
Yes.
day.
And like I said,
In addition to.
on the menu.
Besides the sun butter and jelly.
On the menu, yes, it's the veggie stacker or the nacho stacker. That was something we talked about, we were gonna get changed, and we didn't change it for February, that was an oversight.
Okay.
But there is always the sun butter and jelly in every day. Oftentimes, they're putting out different varieties of sandwiches, even for the elementary school kids, that are there on the line available.
Well, that was another complaint that I was getting. Kids were coming home saying they were getting things to eat different than what were on the menu. What parents are looking at the menus and they're thinking, this is what their kid's getting. The kid's getting to school and they're being given a different choice. It's different than what's on the menu.
And they're not eating.
That's
Okay.
that's just what I'm hearing. What's on the menu.
What's happening, I don't want to interrupt, but
No,
what happens
please
a lot of
st-
times
yeah.
is when these kids come in, the teacher will say, what would you like? This is what's on the menu. Oh, well, I'll have the hot lunch. They come in there, and next thing you know, you got 45 little ones that want the parfait, and they're not getting the lunch that they had actually wanted,
That they had ordered.
that they had ordered.
Yeah, but they're not
And-
getting what was on the menu, is what they're saying.
There's been changes
Okay.
from what
Well,
was,
Yeah,
kids pay ahead of time.
right, and there's a lunch count that goes down to the cafeteria every day.
Yeah.
It says we selected a, well, see, again, we have some communication
Right.
issues here.
It goes down, but as far as what the order comes in the morning and what the kids actually take, is two different things.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the later lunch. Kids are saying they're going up and they'd like a salad, and oh, sorry, we're sold out. They'd like a certain sandwich. No, we're sold out.
And that's kind of a byproduct.
They should never be
well,
sold out.
Yeah, but it's kind of a byproduct of the lunch count not being accurate.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
That's
I mean,
what
we're
I'm
not psychic, we
teaching.
can't, we're not that good.
But how
And
hard is it to?
I can honestly say too, from firsthand
That's what I'm
experience,
saying.
that that's not an everyday occurrence. Because I'm here, a fair amount of time at the end of lunches, and there is everything still available. What do we do, half a dozen kids who came up to get second entrees the other day, last time I was here?
To get seconds?
Yes.
Well,
And they're
yeah,
allowed to get
purchase-
seconds?
No, they're allowed to purchase another sandwich or salad or any extras that they want.
So why do we have the guidelines if they can just go back and get another sandwich? So why
Because
just
that's
can't?
deemed as à la carte.
And they're hungry.
I have to say, if my kid's hungry and he wants another sandwich,
Exactly.
you better dang well be able to get another sandwich.
But-
Because no one should judge what.
Exactly, but that's exactly what I'm saying. If a child wants that extra piece of bread, they're not allowed to get it because within the guidelines, they can only have a certain portion.
Right, they're not
And
allowed
that's
to get
There's
what
a
it,
lot of carbs in a slice of bread as there is in an apple.
Right.
Right.
but they're not allowed to get it
Really?
But we're talking,
with,
we're
in
talking
the
about federal
included
guidelines. I
charge.
didn't like this
And as an
stuff.
extra charge, they can get it.
Seriously, it's ridiculous. I
Okay.
totally disagree with it, but the reason they can come up and do that is because it's deemed à la carte. There's unitized meal that gets reimbursement. Okay,
Right.
and for that reimbursement, we gotta go by all the strings, and there's tons of them.
Yeah.
There's this much paperwork to give a kid a cheeseburger these days. Okay, just to get that money from the feds.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so if they want more, and if they're still hungry, yeah, they can go purchase, but that's deemed à la carte. There's no federal money tied to that purchase.
Sure.
And then the
It's just a
kids
straight
who
purchase.
get free lunch or reduced don't have that
They
option.
don't.
So they go hungry.
It's not that they're going hungry, they've already eaten one meal.
A lot of them
might
are
not
not
be-
eating it.
And you also have to,
Well, then their folks need to step up to the plate and send them with food.
and you have to remember too, that the lunch program, the way the USDA structured the meals is specifically to be heavy on fruits and vegetables. So if the kids don't eat the fruits and vegetables that are on the tray, yeah, they may say they're hungry. And a lot of them just won't eat them. That's what
Right.
Bill was referring to before, where there's just as much food on the tray, but less of it that gets eaten.
Right.
There's actually more, and that was their genius. You know, they didn't think about if anybody was gonna eat it.
Right,
They just
as long
thought
as
there
it's
was gonna
more
be
on the tray.
So, I mean,
Okay, so you're gonna redo this survey that you've done.
well, we're
This
gonna collect
is-
all the rest of the information, get the parents and the staff surveys. We'll get all the rest of the communications that we have, good, bad, or ugly. Go through those, have some responses for those. I just jotted down most of the main
Sandwiches
concerns.
every day.
Sandwiches and some other things, and fruit and things like that. So we're gonna go into that. A lot of those things, keep in mind that presentation, is that something that, you know, the sandwiches you used to see every day, but, you know, fruit cups and things like this, all those things rotate, and especially in a facility of this size,
Yeah.
it's darn close to impossible to, you know, put that much stuff out. We can't even bring in an order big enough to facilitate that. And then you're talking about throwing away food, and it's all perishable items, and, you know, this is your money that we're managing for you. So we want to try and be responsible with it.
So we can do the cheese on the side for the salad, so the kids can have the
Again,
tossed salad, and that way they can just
We're
add
working on the
it.
logistics of that because we were
I think you
serving
get
far
most
more
of it.
cheese than we were serving meals on that, but we're gonna fix that.
Okay, so you're gonna come back in 2 weeks. Everybody's going to have been given the survey results, and you're gonna repeat your survey in 2 months.
Yes.
Any other questions for Cafe Services? Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, we appreciate it.
Okay. Financial reports, Andrew.
You got your expense report, which is through January 31st at 1:14 in the afternoon. Any questions on the expense report?
I have questions, but I think it's going to be more under the budget status part of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the expense report itself?
Well, I guess my only question is that there's some things that haven't been encumbered, so it's kind of hard to know.
Well, that's under budget status.
Okay.
Because we talked a couple months ago when everything was supposed to be encumbered towards the end of January and February. I did talk to Andrew last week, and that's why I put budget status on there. That's basically for us to get a feel of where we stand and what still needs to be spent. Anything on the grants?
I just had a question which probably can't be answered.
Well, we can ask it, Liz.
Page 4 of 5, about halfway down, homeless travel and homeless supply. There are identified students within this town who are
yes.
homeless.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And how does the travel come into their picture?
If a child is deemed to be homeless under the law, then the district in which they're currently laying their head and the district where they were last enrolled in the school are required to share the cost of transportation so that the child can attend either the school where they are laying their head or where they were before, if it's practical to allow them to continue in that setting. So
They're
that's
not getting on a bus any other place?
it can be on a bus. Sometimes when it's an individual student or two, you might negotiate to pay IRS mileage for the parent to get the child as far as the bus that's going to that district they used to be in. Sometimes we can arrange to have a small bus take them to the town line and get picked up by another transportation service. That's the way it works. If someone is homeless, then we work with the families to determine which school district they're going to attend, and we have to share in the transportation cost.
Homeless supply is the same thing.
Yeah, homeless supplies is we're required to have some money available in our Title I grant to provide basic supplies. I mean, I'm not sure what we've spent money on, Jerry, you might know, but it might be school supplies that students might otherwise be able to bring in themselves that we would supply for homeless students.
Backpacks and stuff like
Andrew, I have a question on revenues. And it's why I asked Mr. Farrow if on his reports, this was the total sales, the revenue for the month,
I talked
cash.
to him about that tonight, because I got the December report. I wasn't matching, and I went to the bank statement tonight.
They're not matching.
He's gonna have his accounting person who put the report together call me and tell me where she's getting the numbers from.
Yeah, because if you look at total sales, like for September, it's 63.65, then 98.28. If
Right.
you add these all up, the total sales as far as cash, it's a lot more than what you're showing on your sales at schools line or what's in Profile Bank.
Right, I questioned him on that tonight because I was looking at that myself before I came here. Because if you look at the year-to-date cash, it's 27,000, we only have 17,000.
You only have 17,000.
Now, I know about 4 of that, I know 4 or 5 that's coming from, it's the deficit of people not paying for the lunches. Because they're showing that as revenue, even though we haven't collected it from the student.
Well, shouldn't they show that as being offset
So it's
somewhere?
the-
on
That
budget
should,
funds?
no, I just
Shouldn't be
specifically asked him, and he said that is cash revenue being received at the cash register.
Mhm.
So if somebody's not paying, that's not included in that number.
Well, that's why he's gonna get the person to get in touch with me tomorrow or Friday to go over where she's getting her numbers from. So I showed him, I said, here's my 5 months of profile bank statements, all the money that's been deposited. You know, where's the difference coming from? And he's supposed to have her give me a call and see where it's coming from.
Yeah, I'm seeing about a $9,600 difference, so.
Yeah. Anything on the cash reconciliation or the treasurer's reports? Well, we've got all this paperwork out, why don't we go to that budget status? Right now, were you able to get everything encumbered, Andrew?
What I did is I developed a report, which I had in the process of cleaning up, where I added a column that is anticipated costs, because a lot of these things I can't encumber because we don't know who the vendor's gonna be, like when you look at supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed a report which I could bring to the next meeting, that actually I have a column that says what I'm looking at as being a possibility of what we're gonna spend. And right now, with doing that this afternoon, I came up with that we have a budget of $550,000 that's left over, but I know that's gonna reduce by at least $100,000 in special ed. Scott and I are gonna go through that this week to see if we have all the special ed encumbered.
Okay. Well, it's not, I don't know, I went through it, the whole thing today too, and I came up with quite a list of things that are still gonna have to come out of this budget.
Yeah. There are things that couldn't be encumbered under the traditional way of doing encumbrances. So when Andrew and I talked about it, he's created that new
Okay.
column. Does yours have a new column on it that says anticipated?
No, not
Because
yet.
that's the latest iteration, is things that need to be anticipated but can't be encumbered. So Andrew gave me a draft of that today, and I went through it and identified some areas. He had already put some in, I identified some others, so we're going back and forth to make sure everything we can anticipate gets into that anticipated column. So,
Okay, can the board get a copy of that prior to the next meeting?
yes, yeah. I didn't get through it all to get it back to Andrew in time for him to get it tonight.
The other thing is, I went through this, I found several things that I don't think have been purchased yet, and I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, there are some.
The LCD projectors and the smart boards, we're trying to decide what we're going to,
Yeah, that was part of the
we were
tech.
talking about going to Apple TV
Yes.
instead of using the smart boards, but don't we still need the LCD projectors?
Yes.
Okay, so those need to be ordered.
Yeah.
There was money in there for cubbies for the kindergarten rooms, for all 3 kindergarten rooms. Has that been done?
That's new to me. That's not something was on my radar.
There's
Judy.
$1,000 in there for cubbies that were supposed to be built for the kindergarten rooms. There were supposed to be 4 dry erase boards purchased.
Can you just back up for 1 second? Were those? Did we have a place we were ordering those from, the cubbies, or were they going to be custom made?
They're gonna be built?
Do you recall? And I could certainly ask Bob, or I can give Joe a call.
I don't have that. You made
Yeah,
any.
and I'm not asking for specific. Just wanted everybody knew.
This is for cubbies for the 3 kindergarten classes to go with the math program and all the manipulatives.
Okay.
It was for the 3 kindergarten classrooms. There was supposed to be 4 dry erase boards ordered for classrooms.
And those are a lot of the areas, Judy, that I anticipated columns I set up in the report on.
Right, but if it's stuff that's that's been put in the budget a year ago to purchase, it should have been purchased so it was here at the beginning of the year for the kids to use.
Yeah.
Library equipment, e-readers, and 2 computers.
We decided, when I looked at your e-readers, we also didn't have a budget for books to put on the e-readers. So I put a nix on that. And because
Okay.
we don't have a budget for the materials to be on them. It didn't make any sense to have the e-readers.
And then we've got, we were supposed to replace furniture, 2 classrooms, 60 desks and chairs, 2 teacher desks and chairs, and 2 cafeteria tables. And that money's still all there. So, I mean, those are just the items I identified that were supposed to be purchased. And I understand that you're new and it
Yeah.
didn't, you weren't in on the budgeting process of
Yeah.
this, but someone needs to go through this budget, and if we need these things, we need to get
Well, I
them
think you probably
ordered,
did.
and if we don't need them, then don't order them, but, I mean,
I assume, I'm going to go by the assumption, and I know it's dangerous at times to do that, but by the assumption that when it was put into the budget and you approved it, there was a case made for the need. And I apologize that it
Correct.
hasn't been ordered. I will make sure, I will go through that and ensure, with Andrew, that we have the money to order those things that were needed.
yeah,
I've
I
also
just
done-
don't want the end of the year to come and us think that we have $300,000 left over, and then you say, oh, but we've got to order this, 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 and this,
You wouldn't have heard that from me because I didn't know.
Okay.
But I was, Andrew and I did have a discussion about some items today. I will check on the cafeteria tables. I know there's always a need to replace cafeteria tables to make sure the ones we have are still safe, especially when we have to put them up and take them down.
Did we get the laminator ordered?
It's been ordered, or was that?
That was
That's for
approved,
next year,
remember,
isn't
that
it?
was the new one. That was
for
going to,
next year.
It's for next year's budget.
So we put
Well,
that in
we
for
could-
next year.
but we had the money in there. We said we could probably
Yeah.
get that one fixed again.
I didn't think we
Or
were going to
price
fix
it
it.
out.
I thought we were done fixing it. There were so many options that had been fixed several times, from my understanding, and
Yeah,
that we
there was
chose
still
not
money
to
in there
fix
to
it
get
yet
it.
again, and have it go south on us.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
don't
well,
want the
okay.
end of the year to come and these things aren't bought, and then in July or August, somebody says, oh, we were supposed to buy that,
Yeah.
but now we don't have the money.
Judy,
It's gone.
we'll have an answer for you on the 20th.
Did we
Okay.
get everything for the social studies program?
We're talking with them now about those, because we are looking at, not everything was, I don't think it was, the comprehensive program wasn't really purchased, that we're looking at supplements, and the supplements don't really seem to be enough.
All right, I asked for that to be
Yeah.
put on the agenda, the next agenda.
It is.
I asked for the Social Studies Committee to get together and present us with a,
Oh, good.
And we're in preliminary discussions on that also.
That's good.
also next week, I asked for the NECAP, report on the NECAP results.
Yep.
Principals report?
We'll have that, I hope. Smarter Balance, which is the state assessment that will replace the NECAP starting in the year 2014-15 school year. We've been invited to participate in a pilot for 6th and 7th grade in language arts, and that will be happening in May. We haven't got a date. We haven't picked the exact date for that. And our spelling bee, congratulations to Jessica Bernier and runner-up Tyler Long. They did a great job in winning the spelling bee.
Awesome, congratulations.
They did a super job. 8th grade, as is this time of year, going through their course selection. And they were supposed to get their stuff into, their materials into Deb Wilson here today, as they're also picking their classes and really starting to plan out their 4 years at Spaulding. And all students were participating in that. Spaulding ROTC came and visited last week. What a lot of fun that was. Sergeant Joe Kerrigan, Master Sergeant Joe Kerrigan, came with, must have been 50 or 60 kids that came from Spaulding, and all the Wakefield alum that are participating in ROTC, and they've competed in contests against our 8th graders and introduced the idea of ROTC and that program to all the 8th graders.
Is he a sergeant or a master sergeant?
Master sergeant.
I don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah, geez. I bet he'd be pretty easy going with us civilians. 3rd grade, what a great job. They did this. They did multiplication boot camp. Speaking of ROTC, and they spent the entire week doing nothing but multiplication.
Wow.
All they did. It was their PE. It was language arts. It was art. It was everything they did all week long, every day. And it was run like a boot camp. They were
awesome.
rattling off multiplication. Really, the idea is getting them to know their facts by the time they go into 4th grade. And so Ms. Kuehl and Ms. Taylor did a super job in setting that up. They really built it up, and boy, the kids had a lot of fun with it, and they made a lot of noise. And like I said, it was a true boot camp.
That's awesome.
So kudos to them. And we had the enrollment report. Are there questions about the enrollment report?
No, at least we went down. You were concerned about the numbers.
We did.
And from the beginning of the year.
From the beginning, yeah. No, well,
I'm looking from the beginning.
4 from the beginning.
Yeah.
They're holding pretty steady.
Thank you, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do we have is this our night for a discipline
Yes,
report?
I have one.
Yes.
I have a question on Jerry's report.
Sure.
We often have little competitions in the school, like spelling bees and other things, and people who place somewhere in, statewide contests.
Yeah.
But the school board hears about it quite late afterwards,
Oh.
and I was wondering if some kind of a document could be made up that congratulates the student on whatever he has done with the signatures of the school board on
Yeah, I
it.
think that'd be, Liz, I think that'd be wonderful. For I think for the kids as well as the teachers to kind of display that in the classroom.
Right.
Just nice.
It would have to be done at the time that the award
Yeah,
is
we can-
made.
Yeah, and we can certainly go back, and I think we're close enough to spelling bee.
We could sign a bunch of them as board members,
Yeah.
those who come in, and then you could put out the occasion on the date when it comes up.
Absolutely, we'll get that for the next board meeting.
Okay, Nate, you're up.
As you can see, our total referrals for this month are 32. And if you look down, repeat offenders for this last month were only 3 students, which is down considerably compared to what it had been in the past. We're looking at only 17 building referrals. We did have a rough month on the buses of 15 bus referrals that month. Repeat offenders counted for 22% of all office referrals this month. That's down from 47% last month. So, we're not having those same kids in over and over. We're moving on from that. If you look down year to date, we are looking at a total of 229 students have been in the office for major referrals. Year to date, offenders with 5 or more referrals counted for 43% of our office referrals. Again, that's still down only by 2%. Didn't put that in there. I didn't think it was as big of a drop to note on the report, but it is down by 2%. And I think that's going to continue to go down. You are always going to have some of that repeat offender there, but that's decreasing as well. If you look at the behaviors resulting in a suspension, we only had 3 events. Half-day ISS, OSS 2.5 days. That was actually right at the end of the month as well. We almost missed one. We almost didn't have it in there. And the bus suspensions was 1 event, 1 student, 2 days. Okay. If you look at the charts on the back,
I just think we ought to give the gold star to the kindergarten this month. No referrals?
Yeah.
No office referrals sent in from the kindergarten. It was really good. We actually put that over the intercom.
We do that quite frequently, and again, try to find something positive, to talk about, whether it's hallway behavior, cafeteria behavior, lack of referrals, the least amount of referrals in the building. We're always trying to find a way to do that, as well as, the PBIS, as we talked about about a month ago, being the respect in the classroom, always trying to find, collaborating and trying to find what can we say about what does respect in the classroom look like, so we kind of throw that tidbit out to kids. And today's little piece to the students about respect was, following directions in the classroom, because we have to do with safety. And again, we're just trying to find something to, again, to point out how the kids can practice respect in the classroom on a daily basis.
If you look at that chart, process behaviors is really the only thing that's increasing over the course of this month. And that's really because we didn't have those same repeat offenders in there that we had in the past. So some of these are, first-time offenders going in there, really, just talking to them. Some of the issues were really small. You could talk to them, try to get them on track for what they needed to do. But if you look at that trend on the month of January, it's going down overall and everything. It's looking really good. The students are really, in my opinion, buying into us promoting PBIS in a larger fashion than what might have been done in the past.
I think the other piece is we deal with a lot of minor things so that they don't become major things. Mm-hmm. So and the teachers are feeling comfortable in sending kids down to us. And what they said in the past, they really were uncomfortable in sending a lot of kids down because they didn't feel like it was really going to be dealt with seriously. So, they're feeling more comfortable with that. So we see more. I think that's why you see a lot of the process behavior, because it really isn't something that requires disciplinary action. We can deal with that, and again, just that processing piece, and we don't see them again, which is kind of indicated by that only 3 students who are.
Is that training over now? The 2-week, you were going through teaching the minor infractions versus the major, and going over with students and kind of.
That is over, but it will be a continuation. It will always be going on. We'll talk about during staff meetings, see if there's questions, go over it with more detail, see if we need to rehash anything or look at anything in different ways, make sure the questions are answered. I have ongoing times where teachers will come in and just ask me, am I doing this right? What do you think? Is this the way it should be? I'm not sure if this is a minor or a major. Let's talk about it. We'll talk about it. And even if they come to me, even if it's a minor and I'm not charting it, but they've come to me and I've seen the referral, I will still speak with the student. Just because I now know it's occurred, I at least want to address it and let them know. It also helps the teachers feel as though they're being heard and understood. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to say, because of the decline in behavior and some of those repeat offenders, I've actually had the time to play a little more basketball with some of our students who were getting in trouble more often, because now that they're not getting in trouble, we're giving them something to come down as a positive and see me. Okay. So you get a couple of those students who are coming down on a regular basis in trouble. Now I'm going to grab them and say, hey, you've done an amazing job for the last 2 weeks. Let's go out and play, a game of basketball for 5 minutes while the gym's empty. And they're buying in, they're loving it. So it's nice.
And that's from our students we frequently see. Right. And again, trying to find a positive way of interacting. Other times they'll come down and read to us, and they just, say, look, if you could find a way to get something positive, send them down to read a book with me.
I think that's great. I think my only concern with that would be are they being pulled out of a classroom for that 5-minute basketball?
No, it's usually during a recess time.
And what about the kids who are always doing a great job? Are they getting that?
But if I can take a kid out for 5 minutes in avoiding ISS,
yeah,
you know what? I'll give up that 5 minutes, because we're going to get an awful lot more out of them on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I see where Viv's going.
That's
what about the kids
that
are always behaving? What are they getting?
There's that pause. There's those pause events. That's where the PBIS comes in, and those are those classroom rewards for doing a good job.
There's a lot of pause given out for.
There's a lot of pause given out. In every quarter we work on something different. As Nate's working on the PBIS. Like right now, this quarter is really that heavy focus on respect in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So we're using that a lot. Next month will probably be bus behavior, because that's what we're seeing.
Well, I think the positive is great for the kids, to avoid the ISS. The only thing is I'm seeing the kid who's sitting there who's always following the rules and is always doing their work, and they're not getting that little extra one-on-one. Are you seeing any concern of that yet?
No, not really. No. I mean, I guess our goal is to increase the classroom academics. And so, and I hear what you're saying. You want the other kids aren't getting that. Fair isn't always equal. It's.
Well, my experience has also been that those students that play by the rules and do what they're told to do, there is nobody happier than they are when the person sitting next to them that has been disruptive for the last 5 years that they've been in class together starts to get their act together and not have problems anymore. So my experience has been that those whose class is no longer disrupted as much are very appreciative of anything that happens that helps the other students be more successful. So I have never experienced a significant problem of jealousy because they appreciate the difference that it makes, in my experience.
And they know who the difficult spots are in the classroom.
Oh, yeah, I just gonna see a kindergarten child who's saying, well, I can't go play with Mr. Gregoire for 5 minutes, or I can't go eat lunch with him because I didn't misbehave. Would they try to misbehave just to get to spend time with you?
We don't typically see, I haven't seen any of that I can think of this year. But, you know, does it happen? Sure.
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen
they'd want that
that.
special treatment.
Okay, administrative notes, we got Jay's notes. Anyone have any questions on those? It keeps saying on your notes, Jay, that the agendas are attached for the administrative team meetings, but they're not.
I just noticed that. I need to make sure with Kathy, because I include that and she gets those as well. I need to make sure I follow up and make sure they get attached, so I will add that to my notes. And Jerry would like to add something under administrative notes that we didn't have when this material came out.
In a draft of an admin procedure, be bringing this forward at a later date for possible policy. And basically it is, I bump into at times, are our younger students not being not having somebody at the bus stop to pick them up. And then our bus driver is put in a quandary of, do I let that first grader walk off the bus and walk, 2 blocks, half a mile, whatever it might be, to their house? Typically, the practice has been in the past for a parent being required to pick up, for our elementary school kids, for somebody to be there. And on occasion, I bump into a parent who says, I'm not doing it. And I bump into this moral dilemma of, do I allow that child to walk away from that bus, or do I bring them back to school? And the parent, some of the parents have said, I'm not doing it. And what I'd like to do is an admin procedure, and really, at one point before the end of the school year, follow this up as a policy, to have some teeth to say, we are going to. My concern is with safety with kids, and a parent doesn't want to do that, they're going to have to sign off. I don't want to exonerate the school of liability if the child walks off, and, God forbid, anything tragic happens.
To take that a step further, do we require them to sign off as far as if they're walkers going home?
We do not. I mean,
maybe that should be included too, so that they're taking responsibility.
They put it on their registration, they're walkers, but that's not the same as signing off that they're allowing.
Yeah, if they're not physically coming and walking home with their child, then we should have something from them stating that they have permission to walk home.
No, it's a concern that you'll be hearing more from me about, not only bus, but pickup even, and really trying to work out a procedure for pickup that I feel is safer than we have right now. Right now we have students leaving the building without any parents signing them out. So we have kids walking out of the building, go with their parents, and it's been a long time practice. And I'm looking at this and I'm not quite comfortable with it. That any child can walk out that door, and I don't know who they go with. Right. If that parent doesn't show up because they've had an accident, I don't know who they're going with. But I'm not quite sure how to get this done, because it's traffic and out there. And so again, we're working at it, and we're trying to come up with something that's.
You're talking about the parent pickups.
I'm talking parent pickup. Again, it's where does the kid land if the person's not out there? And do I know that the person out there is the person that should be out there, so that they're on the list? If a parent sends their buddy down to pick them up and they're on the list and something happens, and I've dismissed that child with person X, and the real person, the person that's supposed to pick up, isn't there, what kind of liability does that put us at?
Can we have some type of sticker that people have in their car or something?
I'm wherever I've been in the past year, I've had
pickups?
parents come in and sign out. And then we call down those children en masse. You know, we'd call down Andrew and Liz and Judy, and we'd call them down en masse when we call down parent pickup. It's not parent pickup, it's I'm calling down individual kids. I don't have students walking out of the classroom saying, I'm parent pickup. And they slip out. They hear their name called off.
Oh my gosh, with that many cars that go all the way out.
I hear you, Viv. I hear you, and that's the dilemma.
I'm just thinking, getting out of here now at 3:20.
I'm looking at student safety as being my prime focus.
My only concern is that I know that it takes about 20 minutes.
We have public comment later. I'll be happy to do
I'm
that.
just, again, I hear what you're saying, and that's where I'm bumping into what's reasonable,
Yeah.
what's safe, and what are we liable for?
I would think anything on school grounds we'd be liable for. But
Right.
then, just like Judy was saying, we have the walkers. We really should have a waiver. Because,
sign-off.
yeah, a sign-off, because what's going to happen is, what happens if something happens right at the gate, even though they're walkers? They're still technically on school property, but, you know, what are we going to do if something happens right there? And they weren't supposed to be walking, so we should have something in writing.
We're working on it.
We're working on it, and that's it. It's a
It's-
work in progress, and this is
Well,
just kind of
everything's
like,
changing, that's why.
This
It's
is
the
our
whole
first bite at
safety
the
and
apple right
security.
now.
It's making us look at everything differently.
Accuse LGC, because you got information on that.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be perfect.
I just want to bring
Because
to your
that's a
attention, this will be
liability.
the procedure that I present
That
to
looks
parents
great.
who are not compliant.
Employee handbook.
Yeah,
There's
this-
actually two in our packet. It looks to me what may have happened, Jay, was this was the one that Mr. Landers had, and Gail updated it with this one.
Yeah, this came up earlier in the meeting, something that was, there was in the last board minutes, led me to want to find out what we had on paper that people signed. Oh, I know it was the liability. It was the teacher liability for release of information. So I said, I want to go back and take a look at what our handbooks say, because we do hand out handbooks and they sign them. So when I went back and looked at handbooks, what I found was an old handbook from Mr. Landers' time, and I found a support handbook that covered fewer of the employees, but it was under Gail's signature. And so Judy and I talked about bringing both of these back to the board, and the question is, do we want to have just a support handbook that's specific to support staff? If so, we need to make sure that everybody is covered by some handbook. So everybody is signing something that gives them the equal employment, equal opportunity information. It gives them information about how they get paid, about what their responsibilities are for information we need in our files before they can be hired. That has all that employment-related material. And so we bring it back to you to get your feedback, and then whatever you want, we will write.
All right, it's my understanding the teachers have a handbook. That's the one we worked on. Students have a handbook. We worked on that one. Bus drivers have a handbook. We went over that one.
Yeah,
That
Tim
was,
has that
that
one.
was given to us. So the support handbook, to me, should cover the paras, the secretaries, and the custodians. I don't think, we don't have kitchen help
Yeah,
anymore.
that's in the cafe, so I think that would cover it. I mean,
Yeah, that's,
but I think the point would be to have.
That's all support staff.
it'd still be support staff. And
Yeah, I'm just saying,
paras,
I'm just saying,
custodians,
whatever it falls under.
And,
Secretaries.
Make sure we cover everybody. Some kind of Excel sheet, you know, we check off everybody, and by the time we're done, everybody has a handbook that they've signed.
Yep.
Right.
Well, cafe, as far as the kitchen, regardless of which way we go, if it's, as it is now, it's under cafe service, but even if it, at any time goes back to the way it was, they'd still be covered as support
Correct, it
staff.
would just, it would just come under
We
that.
should be all set.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
So
let you know in
did
regard
you
to
want any
handbooks also.
corrections on this, or were you just gonna file it, or what's the?
Jay's offered to go through it and update it to make sure it complies with our policies and bring it back to us as a more finished product for approval.
Yeah, and
If
at that
that's
point,
okay
then
with the
we'll want to
board.
get feedback and make any corrections.
At that
Oh, so
point,
you're gonna do it first and then we'll look at it again?
I'll take a first stab,
All right.
yeah.
if you're interested in making any changes, as a group to the student handbook, we will be including that this year in the agenda. That will be part of our agenda we purchase for grades 3 through 8. K1 and 2 will receive it as we have in the past. It's actually a little cheaper to put in the agenda. The kids always have it with them, so there isn't any reason for them not to be aware of what the handbook will
makes
say.
sense.
We've been talking to the handbook company about that in the last couple of weeks.
So any changes to
We're
that
gonna
need to
make
be
that-
done
we're gonna-
fairly
We're
soon?
going to need to do that before, we have that back in July, right?
Yes, July.
Mid-July, we think July 17th or something, we have to have that, so we have the start of school, but we'll,
Okay, then it would only be fair, I feel, for the new board to review that,
Yep.
Because they're the ones that'll be dealing
Yep.
with the,
I think we
so
did a
that needs
pretty
to be on the
comprehensive job in
agenda
the summer, so.
sometime, maybe in April or
Yeah.
May.
And you also haven't received yet, and it's later than normally, the draft calendar for next year, because it was only, I think it was last week that I got that from Rochester. We wanted to have theirs as a starting point, and then we have to meet with the association and get feedback. There's a calendar committee meeting that's been set up with the appropriate parties, so that we should have that done and ready to come back to you for your consideration at your next board meeting.
Okay. All right. Administrative procedures.
These are coming back to you. We've put these together this year. You've seen most of these, if not all of them, but we want to make sure that they come back to you so you can verify that they are not in conflict with any board policies. If they are, then they need to be corrected to be in conformance with policy.
Did anybody have any concerns on the bidding procedure? No concerns? Volunteer visitor procedure. I had one concern on that one. Third paragraph, regular contracted service providers. They need to sign in and out of the office, but do not need to wear visitor badges. Anyone in this building needs to wear a badge if they're here.
So if that is a preference of this, so that's not out of conformance with a policy, but it's a request that the administration have them wear badges.
Yep.
So
If there's a contractor in here working, they need to have a badge on so that a teacher walking by sees that that person is supposed to be in the building.
And that's the practice.
Right, so that just needs to be changed here. If someone from Stratford Learning Center is here, they need to have identification on. If a OT or PT outside agency is here, they need to have identification on.
Everybody who comes in the
Everybody.
building,
Okay.
we had visitors come in, a mass group of visitors came in last week, and, all 7 of them had badges, even though they were walking around with me.
Okay.
and that's different. They're not regular, they're not here every day.
I'm just saying, everybody who
Right.
comes in the building, whether they're with me, or they're a contractor, or they're, from anybody that, anybody's in the building.
And if they're here every day as employees, they are supposed to have their badges on. Multi-purpose room use. I think on this one, where it gives gym/cafeteria/multi-purpose room, that gives the impression that they're allowed to use the cafeteria too. But there's an additional charge if they're using the kitchen.
You already had that in the preceding paragraphs. That should be.
Right, so should this just say gym/multi-purpose room?
Isn't that also the cafeteria, though?
It is, but I don't want people to think that they get to use the kitchen.
Because that's an additional cost.
I don't know, as long as it's explained, any outside agencies coming in that are gonna use
Can it
the...
just be multi-purpose room?
Well, we probably need.
That's what it is, it's a multi-purpose room.
Just leave it at that. And whatever
think we probably need to probably define that in the form
Oh.
that you
Okay.
use when they sign it out. You know, you're using this.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Liz.
Under use of kitchen, organizations using kitchen facilities shall be required to have a cafe services employee. If using kitchen appliances, I thought the cafe services employee had to be in there if somebody was using the kitchen.
Yes.
Whether they're using an appliance or not.
Right. So no one really gets to use the kitchen.
No, it's under contract. It states in the contract, no one's allowed to use the kitchen unless they have a cafe services employee at all times.
And that was more for cleaning up afterwards.
Right.
Proper
Exactly,
sanitation
sanitizing.
of the...
You know, when we had the auction, you know, I called Chris and said, we're using it. And because it says anybody, meaning us too.
Right.
You know, so I called Chris up and he said, you don't need to have a cafe services person there. You guys are there. You guys are there. I'm going to be here personally monitoring it. You know, myself and Joe and Nate were here on that, so they gave us that permission to use. Just tell me what they said.
I understand that, and this is exactly my point, is that we have a legal signed contract, yet it can be breached at anyone's convenience, and then you have someone else who may want to do that and say, no, you can't do it, but you can. Either you do it according to the contract, or you don't do it at all, take it out.
I hear what you're saying, but I guess, you know,
I would
we
say
own the-
fine, because
yeah.
yes, we own the school. However, they don't even let a staff member go into the kitchen. No one can go in the kitchen. That was specific without cafe services. And granted, it's the administration, and that's fine. It's that the point is what happens is that if a teacher wants to do something, they can't, unless they have cafe services, unless you decide to stay.
Unless they say, Jerry, they may allow me to make that decision and give me that latitude. And if that occasion came up, I would call them, as I do on occasion, say, is it okay if we use this? And really the answer I get is, as long as you're not using supplies, we're just using the hardware that's been granted by Chris.
That's what I would have hoped that would have happened, but it's held to the contract for certain people and not for others.
And that's why I called it, because I knew that was what it said in
Yeah.
the contract, and I felt we had to follow the letter of the law in the contract, and we'll give
Yeah,
them
'cause how can you
permission.
gonna say they breach a contract if, you know?
So it sounds like we need to delete the phrase, if using kitchen appliances during occupancy. The school district is not an outside organization. So
No.
if Jerry works with cafe services and reaches an agreement, that's not an outside
That's
organization.
fine.
It's not covered by
Right.
this procedure. But it does make sense that using kitchen appliances during occupancy is something that it sounds like we need to scratch to be consistent with our contract.
Late bus?
Just kitchen appliances?
Yeah.
Oh, using.
Late bus procedure?
I think that looks great.
Well, I wondered about number one, when the bus arrives for drop-off, students will not be released unless the driver can see a parent present. Is that, at the present time, is it the senior students are not requiring, the thing you just passed out doesn't have to have
Grades 5 and 8.
he doesn't have to see anybody there.
For the late bus, we do, that's different. This is late bus procedure, and that's our regular bus procedure.
So,
And we do have a
let's
difference.
The late
Let's
bus
amend-
is kids could be being dropped off after dark, so you
Correct.
definitely do want a parent.
Let's amend the regular bus procedure to reference that there is a separate procedure for the late bus, so no parent reads the regular one and thinks it applies in all circumstances. If it's gonna be involved in the late bus, they should be aware there's a separate procedure.
And you
Okay.
see, we're also keeping a staff person here. You know, we have a staff person who's stays here until the bus clears. So if we have an issue, like we had before, we have
Yeah.
somebody there that can react to it.
That's good.
So she's being paid that extra hour.
Did we
to
end
be
up
here.
putting Tim's number on the nighttime service that we had talked about?
I'm not sure. I can double check on that. Too.
We did?
I said I don't recall. I can double check
Okay.
on that.
Now, you have somebody staying here till all
So that
buses
should
are
cover
cleared.
that.
Well, yeah, you know, we're here. You know, one of the administrators is usually here. You know, 9 times out of 10, unless we're at a meeting or something at the SAU. we're here until the bus is clear, and, we have a staff person who clears the buses. But that person leaves at 4:30. Now, the person who runs the after-school program stays that extra hour, paying that extra hour to be here for that, so that she can clear those buses.
Okay.
Because we want somebody in the building, in the event that we have a student, there's nobody there to pick them up. Something happens, they're not supposed to be on the bus, whatever, there's somebody here, and we'll pay them accordingly.
Oh, that works
That's
out
it.
great.
Yeah.
Ink bid.
Did that go out?
Andrew was gonna prepare a bid for ink to go out to bid for next year.
I was.
Yeah.
I thought you were.
I'll take care of that.
Teacher's room. Steve, I
Yeah.
think you put that on?
Yes. Who, what, where, why, when, what's going on with that? I haven't heard anything about it. I'd like to know everything, where the money was spent, things changed. At first I heard certain things were gonna be done, and then halfway through, we're not doing that, we're gonna do something, so, and I haven't heard anything, so.
Jared?
You detail report of that for our next meeting, Steve?
All right, thank you.
Nothing's been done yet.
Nothing's been, there've been some minor things done, the shower.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be done right after we,
No, February vacation.
February vacation.
And that may change too now with
Yeah, with Joe.
our issue that we've had,
yeah.
here, so I mean, I'll get you a detailed report of where we're at, because I know we had money. And we had some,
$1,500.
some
Yeah, that was.
costs on that for the cabinetry and things of that
Yeah.
nature, so
All right.
find out where we're at with it.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Policy JFAB. Steve, I think you asked for this, Fiona.
Yes, I did. Madam Chair, on January 7, 2013, Superintendent McIntyre and I left the Wakefield School Board meeting to attend a concerned residents meeting on school security after the tragic events in Newtown, Connecticut. On January 11, 2013, as a member of the public at a Wakefield Budget Committee meeting, I questioned Wakefield School Board policy J as in John, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, B as in ball. Therefore, whereas school board member Pricilla Colbath slandered and libeled me at the Wakefield School Board meeting on January 18th, 2013, and whereas it was not only vividly clear to myself, but to any number of the people that have contacted me who it was also apparent to, that a quorum of this board was previously made aware of the slanderous remarks and the libelous statement that would be made by Pricilla Colbath on January 18th, 2013 against me, that was added to the agenda after the agenda was closed. See the video. The fact that conveniently, once again, I did not receive my meeting package for the Wakefield School Board meeting of January 18th, 2013, and therefore did not receive the meeting minutes of January 7th, 2013. I present the following. Whereas some people are losing their homes because they cannot afford to pay their mortgages, and whereas some people are losing their homes because they cannot afford to pay their taxes, and whereas some people cannot afford to put food on the table for their families, I will never support adopting or reaffirming any Wakefield School Board policy that places an undue and unjustified taxation upon the citizens of Wakefield. Therefore, I do not support reaffirming Wakefield School Board Policy JFAB on January 7th, 2013. I am now requesting that this statement not only be read into the record as a matter of the record, but that this statement be placed verbatim into the meeting minutes, just as the slanderous and libelous statement made by Pricilla Colbath on January 18th, 2013 were allowed to be.
Would you give that to?
I'll pick it up, Steve.
Okay.
Point of information. Starting after the last meeting when you said you didn't get your packets, we're sending your packets to you certified, because I have no idea why they're not getting to you, but yours are going. I don't have anybody to cast a finger at, but they're being sent certified, so there's going to be a record of when they're sent and when they're picked up, and that way there should be no reason why you don't get your packets.
And hopefully that has now been taken care of, and I appreciate that, and I'm not blaming anybody in the administration for that. I have my thoughts on that issue, but I'll just leave that one alone.
Wakefield website?
Okay, the websites are coming along. We have seen, Scott and Mary and I have seen 2 different mock-ups of the new website. Back Bay asked that we meet again tomorrow. I'm not available tomorrow. We're meeting on Friday. Scott and Mary and I to review the next iteration of the mock-up with anticipation that once we've signed off on this one, they'll start populating it with the information, and then you'll be able to see it, and we'll be able to get feedback from everybody else about anything else that needs to get put in there that's not in place. So that is
Okay, I think the reason it was on the agenda for tonight was we had asked for a cost of how much the Wakefield portion was going to be for Wakefield site. You asked.
I do recall that.
At the SAU meeting the other night?
I do recall that, and I have not found that out for you yet. I'm sorry I dropped that ball. I will add it for the next time.
I'll check it out for you tomorrow. With
double asterisk next to it.
Well, we wanted the cost, before the Wakefield one was done, we wanted the cost and where it was coming from in the budget.
Okay.
So I'll add website to the next agenda.
Thank you. I apologize, Madam Chairman.
Bus fuel, I had put that on myself, and I hadn't got a chance to compare them yet. I don't know if Steve had, but I didn't.
I've had some time, and you know, there are some discrepancies, but then, you know, you have to take into effect, like, you know, December, there's, you know, a week of school, vacation. So, but there are some, you know, between October and November, but are the runs consistent, number one? I mean, I'm still hearing about buses that shouldn't be where you wouldn't think they'd be. So, you know,
if you have specific information of buses that you don't know why they're there, I would really like to hear about that, so I have a chance to follow up with the Transportation Department and find out why they're there. I have been in a circumstance before, not in this district, in which I happened to see a bus during a school day right before Christmas in an LLB parking lot. That didn't go over well. But if I don't happen to see it myself, I don't have any opportunity to respond. So the more details anybody's got, then I'll have an opportunity to check up, and I will check up and find out why buses are where they are.
I did talk to Jerry O'Connor, and it looks like February 21st would be a good date for him and Jim Miller to do the warrant articles, if that works for everybody.
Would that be like at 3 or 3:30 as you were originally
Yes.
talking about? Which
Yep.
which would it be, 3 or 3:30?
Well, they're gonna wanna film the dismissal process, so I would guess they probably wouldn't get to talk to us till probably 3:30.
So 3:30?
In here in the library. There's nothing going on, there's no book fairs or anything in here, Jerry, is there?
Excuse me, I'm
21st.
sorry.
February 21st, there's no book fairs
No.
or... Peter Phillips, actually it was Mike Elwell, one of the other attorneys, sent a letter out to school districts, and I'm not sure if it went to everyone or if it just went to Pricilla and I and Jay, because we were part of negotiations. But it was talking about the penalties for the Affordable Care Act. And according to the way the proposed legislation, and I emphasize proposed legislation, is that they're taking into consideration the fiscal year of school districts, and penalties will not be enforced until July of 2014, if I read that correctly.
That was my understanding.
That was my understanding. The only thing that's making me nervous is that it's saying the proposed wording of the legislation. So we have put the $20,000 in our budget to take care of that penalty should we incur it between January and June of that year. If the proposed legislation goes through, which won't be effective we won't know about till April, we wouldn't have to pay that $20,000 penalty. The question is, do we take it out of the budget, or do we leave it in the budget? It's the proposed, what was the wording? Did you pull it up on your, proposed it's the proposed IRS regulations.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be approved by anybody, does it?
Well,
Who
what
does it have
happens
to
when the
be?
regulations are proposed is the public is given an amount of time, usually 90 days, to give comments on those proposed regulations. And then the IRS will put out its final regulations based upon the input it gets from the public. So this is literally their first proposal, but they will make adjustments based upon the feedback they get. So my recommendation is that we not rely on their proposed regulations. I think we would be wise to keep that $20,000 in the budget, because it will be well after the election before those are finalized. And if they change them and we pull the money out of the budget, then we're going to be in a bad place.
Right, we're going to be in the same place we were with the retirement issue last year.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make, because I know everybody didn't get it, I don't think, and I just wanted to...
I could forward that to everybody if you'd like to see it.
I just don't want anybody to come back and say, well, it didn't start till July and you put $20,000 in the budget. I don't know if that's going to pass or not. It's kind of a catch-22.
It's just like Monday afternoon, I was at a conference that went over some of the medical Obamacare changes, and things changed from last week. So everything we talked about is maybe, possibly, we're not really sure.
Yeah.
So
So we
everything's still
probably should.
kind of just guesswork right now until it's finally, like Jay said, till the regulations are finally approved and put forward. They keep
Yeah,
changing
we should
weekly.
leave it in there then, I guess.
I would think so.
Everyone consensus, we agree to leave it in there?
I would.
Okay. Andrew, I don't think we need you for anything else, if you'd like to take off for the night. Jay, do you see anything?
The only thing that we might want to discuss is, I know it's not the pleasure of this board what's going to happen or not happen on Friday night. But if there's anything that you would like to discuss with respect to the possibility of changing the date of deliberative session, then Andrew would be implicated by that.
I don't mind staying until the end of the public session.
Okay.
No big deal.
I just wanted, if you wanted to
I
go.
appreciate that.
Thank you, that's thoughtful.
There's been emails going back and forth all day about what happens if we have a storm Friday night. It is the moderator's call to make whether we have the meeting or not. That's Rick Sager. And he said that he'd make that decision 2 hours before deliberative session. And the options that are going around is either 1 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Saturday. Peter Phillips chimed in and said that according to RSA 40:4, I think it was, that we have 72 hours to hold that meeting. So we could have it on Monday night. So I don't know what the board's preference is. I think canceling it on Friday and having it Saturday is really short notice. I think if we canceled it on Friday and we're able to get it on some websites and maybe the Wakefield Bulletin Board and do it for Monday would be better.
We'll give people a little more time.
But they're talking 12 plus inches of snow for Friday night, so.
12, possibly 24.
Up to 24, right?
So will the roads even be cleared, or will people be out of their driveways on Saturday, I guess would be the question.
Well, the way it was presented earlier today was just either 1 or 7 Saturday.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what
and
I
then
got
Peter
too.
Phillips chimed in and said the law says you can go 72 hours, which would take us to Monday night.
The email I got gave just Saturday, 1 or 7.
I think
and I just
Monday.
went with
the
1.
general public would be more likely to guess that it would be the next day. I don't know if they'd be realizing it could be that much later, as far as the voters are concerned.
But if we're getting 1 to 2 feet of snow, are they going to be able to get out Saturday night?
It's supposed to end Saturday morning, isn't it?
But then you start dealing with the plowing.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I won't be out of my house by noon on Saturday. I know that, if we get what they're talking about.
Any preference? I'd prefer to wait till Monday.
Well, if you don't wait
That's my
till
own
Monday, probably easier.
preference. Because you'd prefer to do Saturday.
That doesn't matter to me.
I was just thinking we could get it advertised and out to the public that it was Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me, whatever.
Give the people more time.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
get the weather tomorrow night, and they could say it's gone south of us and
Right.
gone out to sea or whatever. But if we have to make a decision or asked our opinion, maybe we could get him to do it at 6 on Monday too, instead
Yeah.
of 7.
I am checking the weather forecast as we speak. It was last updated at
It'll change
7:17
tomorrow.
tonight.
And Friday morning.
Confidence is growing that greater than 6 inches of snow will fall. That's not very helpful. Now, down here it says, snow accumulation of 12 to 24 inches possible, with lowest amounts in the foothills and highest amounts south and along the coast. Snow will begin falling late Thursday night and continue through Friday night. Snow will be heavy at times Friday night into Saturday morning, with winds 15 to 25, gusts up to 55 possible near the coast.
Monday sounds better to me.
Does sound better.
Yeah, we could lose power. I think Monday sounds
better.
But that, as Judy said, that's not going to be your call. But
Right.
It's up to Rick.
Yes. You're gonna have to talk with him, make sure the parking lots are done by Saturday, if that's gonna be the case.
so if
That's right.
he's
Oh, yes, that's another
I will,
thing, parking
Parking lot,
lots.
and they just said, yeah, well, the parking lots aren't done.
They'll
Yeah.
put that off because there's no
exactly.
school.
No school, they'll put that
Then
off.
they're not, yeah, they're not.
Well, I
fixed.
mean, I can call
Just
them
move it to
and
Monday.
say,
Well,
I can
what?
call how-to and say, look, you know, we need these parking lots done as soon as, right away, because we've got the, and I'm sure they'll be responsive to that.
well, I think what we have to do is Judy will keep in constant communication with the moderator, Judy will let me know and board members know as soon as she knows anything, and we will deal with snow removal and whatever else we have to deal
I
with
will
as soon as
prep
we
how
know.
to tomorrow that we may need them ASAP on Saturday.
Well, I mean,
Or we could be here Friday night. I mean, if he doesn't change it, we'll be here Friday night.
well, by the sounds of it, it's gonna be changed.
Sounds like.
Rick's email to me sounded like he preferred Monday.
He prefers Monday.
What he said.
I mean, it would almost be better if he'd make the call earlier.
Oh, right, so
And we
people
could
plan.
notify people and get,
Well, if he's saying, Jay just said that it's now saying it's gonna start tomorrow night. So if it's gonna start tomorrow night and snow right through Saturday morning, you would think he'd be able to make that call earlier.
But the email said 2 hours before, so that's
Well-
not leaving us much time.
As the clerk, I will go to Rick and ask if he can make the call any sooner than that.
Well, but I think the email, that's the latest he can do it.
right.
But it doesn't, he can do it early.
I think he can.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
He can.
saying. As the clerk for the school district, I'll go to him and
Right.
see how early he can make that call. Because I'm the one who has to get it posted.
which means you have to get out to get it posted.
Well, I'm gonna have to rely on the PEG channel, and
How quick can we get something on the PEG channel then? But can you do it from home, or do you, no, you have to go to the town hall?
I suspect that the earliest it could be posted anywhere is probably Sunday. Other than getting a notice out about the cancellation, and I don't know how we would do that.
Well, the SAU office will be open on Friday unless conditions
Can we
are
put it on the
highly
bottom of the
unusual.
TV, just like our
Like the school
school
cancellations.
cancellations?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Wakefield
we
School District
Yeah.
meeting
Closing.
cancels.
And that goes on right away?
can- No. You can do stuff like that.
Channel
Yeah.
9,
What's that
Channel
in
9.
WR?
Yes.
Seems like that's-
And we can get it
Yeah.
on the PEG channel,
Right.
and we can maybe
Yes,
get
it's
Dave
canceled.
Lee or somebody to put it
Right.
on the Wakefield bulletin board.
Yeah, Steve usually does.
Steve, can you could do that once you're...
Is it all,
Can't you run
is it
around
all right
town?
if?
No, once we get the call.
Oh, I
I'll get out the
understand,
middle of the
but I mean,
lake.
is it all right for me to put it on the bulletin board?
I'm
It's public
asking you
notice.
to.
Okay, as long as,
Yeah, any way we can get the word out.
Yeah, because I
Right.
figured I would send something to Dave Lee so that he can get it out on whatever his,
Yeah, it's a public
Right.
notice.
he's got every lake association in town on his mailing
Well,
list.
plus, we usually go to the post
Right.
offices.
and they won't be open on Sunday.
No, we're not gonna get in there.
All right,
And Judy, I'm going to be unavailable tomorrow, so if you could communicate with Jerry and
Okay.
on my behalf, he'll make sure everything is notified.
okay. Warrant articles. We're gonna have to readjust who's doing what. I don't have those with me tonight. All I have is the minutes from when we did them. Article 2 is the power contract. I'll take that. I'm just going off our minutes.
It's page 3 of the January 18th public minutes.
Viv, will you second that?
Yes. You're gonna, Article 2 you're gonna take?
Article 3.
It's Article 2 and Article 3.
Okay, and you're gonna do those? And I'll-
That's the power one.
Okay, I'll second that.
The next one that Pricilla had was the SAU budget. Viv, you didn't have any warrant articles. Will
No.
you take that one?
Yep. And let's see which article. Read Article 7?
Article 7, yep.
Okay.
It's number 6,
Yeah,
Article
yeah.
7.
I need someone to second, because I was second on that one.
Liz or Steve, can you do that?
Yeah.
It says Mrs., so I'm going to put Olympio just to make it easier.
Okay.
Someone needs to second the land article.
I can. Second that.
Steve? Article 10, the roof, someone needs to second that.
I'll second it. Article 12.
I think that's it.
12th.
That's Liz is doing it and you're seconding it.
Right, and then we had put that clause in case Liz is unavailable.
Yeah, but she's available now, right,
Seems
Liz?
to be.
You're ready, all right.
Thank you.
You can bring her in your snowmobile.
All right. Ad hoc committee report, Viv.
Yeah. Jay and I attended an ad hoc committee meeting where we did review, and I talked about last time, the results of the student survey. And I've been asked to say one more time for the parents, the rumor that went around the school about if the students did vote to change the start time at Spaulding High School, that Wakefield will be pulling all the students out of Spaulding High School is not true. It is a rumor. That was never a decision of the board. We were looking for this because it's a study from the ad hoc committee about possibly moving the start time of Spaulding High School. Right now we're looking at a 30-minute change. We do have a survey that's going home to the Paul School parents. Jay and I have been working with the committee, and this one is going to go home to the Paul School's parents because if there's any change in the Spaulding High School start time, and they're looking at possibly moving it up by 30 minutes and starting at 8 o'clock, it will affect the Paul School because we also will have to move our start time most likely to 9 o'clock and be 9 to 3:30 would be our new school time because of the busing so that we can utilize the same bus. So the survey is going to be going home. Just need to get permission from the board. Well, we need to decide how we want to send this out. You know, we talked about before about many parents don't have computers, so we didn't want to use a survey monkey or anything like that. And we talked about, it's 3 pages, but it could actually be done in 2. This is all together.
This is just one?
Yeah, that's
You don't
the
have copies for everybody?
No, the survey is just the one.
Did you get the survey? It was sent to me and there was no attachment. I didn't get any attachment on it.
That's it right there.
Okay,
I got the same one you did.
okay. For some reason, I
Well,
didn't
that's
get the
happened to me
attachment.
before too. It's 5 questions, and it's just asking parents what their preference is. Would you like the time to stay the same, or how would it impact your family as far as moving the time from 9 to 3:30 here at the Paul School? And so this is going to be going out hopefully within the next week. We really need it back. The committee said that we need it back by March 22nd, Jay?
21st.
The 21st. And then we're meeting on the 26th, and at that meeting is when we're going to be deciding whether or not we're going to be moving forward with that.
Yeah, and you know, the request is to have it back to Mary on the 21st, so we would need to have it back before then to get all the surveys collated and the data organized. So we've got plenty of time. We've got more than a month.
You
So
got
if we-
school
if we-
vacation in there.
School
don't you?
vacation though, so we talked about getting it out before then.
Yeah.
So, just,
So can this be put on one page, front and
Yes.
back, so it's not multiple pages?
the last page is really just their signatures. Here it is, Steve. It's only 5 questions, and if we could get that back, what do we look, we're gonna be sending out to all the students?
It'll have to go home with them.
Could we send it out possibly with the Wakefield Weekly?
That can be done.
What do you think? Jerry, what do you think?
Certainly can.
It's 5 questions. We can double-side that so that we don't have the 3 pages.
Yeah.
Because it really, the last page, it's nothing. It's just signatures. Now, when we look at this at our next, the meeting on the 26th is what's going to tell us whether or not this is something that we're going to move forward with. And the committee will review the results then. We do have a student representative on that committee from Wakefield, and she is the one that brought it to our attention that the rumors around Spaulding were about the kids being pulled out, and they felt that a lot of the kids didn't answer the way they would have liked to because they didn't want to be pulled out of Spaulding. Many of them are established and they like it there. So because of that rumor, they decided not to answer the question.
Can I, in looking at the survey,
Mm-hmm.
item 3 gives 2 choices, one being current time that we start, the high school starts, and the elementary starts, and a proposed time of 9 o'clock to 3:30. Do we need to lock ourselves into a 9 o'clock to 3:30, or can we add an earlier start time of 7:30? I mean, those similar studies that indicate that the older children should start later, indicate that kids are fresher, and the younger students are fresher in the morning, and why we would kick that back to 9, or kick it up to 9 o'clock, when really the studies indicate just the opposite of what's good for older children. Is the younger students should be starting earlier. Maybe we should add that in also as an option.
We actually talked about that at the committee, and we had an elementary school principal who was very concerned about that and felt that starting any earlier for the elementary would be detrimental. That's at the elementary level, but I mean,
that's
it's really, as far as with us, if we go, we're going to have to follow whatever Rochester does. So if the committee decides to move forward with this, and they do implement this, then our high school students will be starting at 8 o'clock. As far as whether we start the Paul School at 7:30 or 9 o'clock, that's going to be strictly up to the school district.
And I'm just saying, we're sending this home as a survey for parents. Can we add that same option in there, so we go to get their feedback on what we think?
I don't think that we can get the Paul School students to school at 7:30 and get the high school students to school at 8 o'clock. I don't think it's.
I don't see how we'd make it with the same buses.
You can't make it.
And we need an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we would, we would have to, I mean, I can't imagine starting school at 7 o'clock.
No, that's early. I mean, then the students here are up as early as our high school students are.
Right.
To be getting out, and I get that. I'm just looking at, that start time is not in the best interest of elementary age kids. Well, I know it's in the best interest of high school age kids.
This was just to be able to do it with no cost to the district, and that's what Rochester was looking at. It doesn't mean we wouldn't be able to do that, but we'd be looking at a cost for busing.
I'm just compelled to bring it forward. What I think
absolutely.
Is
but I guess, maybe the community wants to know what it would cost if we were able to do that, and if it's important to them to do that. Then we put it out to the parents. If we find out from transportation that's going to cost us X amount of dollars to have the, extra buses put in just to keep that half-hour difference. If the taxpayers want to do that, then that's up to the Wakefield School District, and the taxpayers. But this is a way to make it happen with no cost. So
I get that piece. I'm just throwing that out.
I know.
Being more compelled to inform what I think is appropriate for our age students, and the community needs to tell us what we can afford.
I think that's why they put on the first page that this was at no change in our budget, no cost to the district.
So you want me to fill this out, put this out in a format that's not on Infinite Campus, but we'll put it in our own letterhead.
Right. The questions and everything has to stay exactly the way it is, though, because it's not our survey. It's Rochester. And that's they're going to be doing the calculations, and they're the ones that are going to be doing the final reports.
We'll send the narrative out and the questionnaire verbatim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wellness Committee.
The Wellness Committee. We had a meeting last week, and it went very well. We have I think most parents hopefully by now have seen Healthy Corner, which was added to the backside of the Wakefield Weekly. We have a healthy recipe every week. We have a healthy tip website, and some trivia questions and some fun facts. So that's going out. We also, as Chris Farrow said earlier, we asked Cafe Services if they could please provide us with a list of approved drinks for the vending machine that's in the cafeteria. Right now it's just water, and some of the students would like other things to drink. But when we looked at the criteria, there really is very little other than water and flavored water, and he's going to look at some of the nutritional information on the sugar-free juices or low-sugar juices, and he's going to bring it to the next Wellness Committee meeting and let us know what's possible. The only question we have, though, is we're not sure about the vending machines, and I was asked to ask the board this evening when we did discuss the Wellness Committee, because there are 3 vending machines, and, there's 2 in the...
You have the water and the...
Right. No one knows about... Well, no one at the committee was really sure about the other vending machine. One is the drinks, and the other one had snacks.
I have, right now I pulled the plug, literally, on the snack vending machine after going through the items that are in there. There are a couple of issues come up. One is that the items don't conform to our wellness policy.
Right.
I think they're Utz chips, Utz brand chips.
Right.
The only that really conformed were the animal crackers.
And the pretzels.
And the pretzels. Smart food, everything was too high in the fat content. So I pulled the plug on that. Second issue that comes up is who receives the money.
Right.
It appears to me that we are not receiving any revenue, that we're just housing a spot for the vendor to have their machine.
And that's what the question was, because some people thought that it went to student activity, and we know that the drinks went to cafe services, that's part of the lunch program. The other one with snacks, we didn't know where that went, and then the one in the hallway was for student activity. And I asked Andrew, because here in the office, I asked Jerry, and no one here has received any money, but yet some of the teachers who serve on the wellness committee said, well, as far as we know, people come in and they fill it, and they take the money and leave. So we thought maybe they were sent directly to the SAU, and I asked Andrew, and Andrew didn't know either.
Right.
Were you able to get anything on that?
Sue is checking back in her receipts to see if she can find
See if
anything
she's
for the
received any
vending
money.
company.
Sandrea has not received, because I checked with Jerry, and he said that they haven't received anything. So
We're
we
just
don't.
housing the machine. it
Right,
sounds
they've
like.
been
So
filling it and
currently
taking
I'm
all the
doing-
money, and so just leaving with it. No one's
Currently, it's
getting.
out of commission, again,
Right.
because we had pulled the plug on it and spoke to the vendor who was filling the machine and said, until I can come to, idea of what the whole story is behind the vending machine, it's out of commission.
Well, the wellness committee was also talking about just having it taken out completely.
We're fine with that also if we.
Yeah, they haven't made a decision. It was just one of the options, because Chris is also trying to find what.
I spoke with Chris about it also.
Yeah.
And, he said they'd be willing to run the snack piece out of there, which would be easy to do. And we could certainly monitor, and I think they'd be right on top of, what was appropriate and not appropriate for our kids to be having under state law.
Right.
The only question I have, the last couple of reports you've done on the Wellness Committee, the one thing I haven't heard anything about is the policy itself. And part of the Wellness Committee's job is actually what they're charged to do, is to review that wellness policy. And the Policy Committee did ask them, last year, to review that policy, and we're yet to see any revision or recommendation or anything. So we have a policy meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, that has been communicated down to the building administration, and the wellness committee will do its legal responsibility, which is to advise on that policy.
Okay. Farmington High School visit?
Steve can take that.
I would not be recommending any of the Wakefield students attend Farmington. They're in their first year of a SIG grant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
New assistant superintendent, right?
Right, it's just, it wouldn't be a good placement for any Wakefield students, so I wouldn't be recommending.
My only concern would be that they don't have a VOC program on site. I mean, if we sent kids there, we'd have to turn around and then they'd have to go somewhere else
They
for
go to
VOC,
Kingswood.
either to
Well,
Wolfboro
they do-
or Rochester. So
They
it
do have.
didn't make any sense to me to begin with.
No, but they do have a small woodworking shop. But it's not, no.
Well,
It
the other
doesn't
concern
compare to
is
Spaulding or
technology.
Wolfboro.
No.
Not even close.
But what
Not
about the
even.
technology? Remember, they weren't even keeping up with the
Yeah.
middle school. They're not, they said that, they really need to look into that.
It's certainly not a good fit for Wakefield students.
All right, well, it's checked off our list, right? We can say we didn't
Yeah.
try looking at everything. Transportation report, Steve?
Well, let me first do Mr. D'Agostino's job. Hand out, we met yesterday, Andrew's got, the left will be put in the bay by the office. The middle, they want to use the middle bay for the buses. The approximate cost for they're talking about a lift, a scan tool, an oil pump, and a tire machine and balancer, and it's somewhere between 15 to 16,000. They're going to develop a mock schedule for the maintenance requirements. There are some jobs that the mechanic feels that he's gonna need a second person to do, like dealing with the brakes. It is 2 hours for an oil change at approximately 85 oil changes a year.
Is that just buses, or is that all town equipment too?
Just buses.
Just buses?
Just
This, yeah, for a school bus. They do, at 3,000, and this is information that they got when they went over to Governor Wentworth. At 3,000 miles, they grease the bus and do a partial check on other safety equipment and things of that. And at 6,000 miles, they do an oil change and do a complete check on the bus. And each one of those takes 2 hours per bus. They're looking at, it's gonna cost $250 in stock for each bus, parts and bulbs and whatever else they think they need. We already touched on the 85 oil changes. The scan tool, which we had discussed at previous transportation committee meetings, and we kind of were tossing around that that's what we would be paying for as part of this, is between 26 and 2,800. They're hoping to might be able to deal with Napa and get Napa was a little bit higher to try to get their price down. And 4,000 will take care of the tire machine and the balancer. I don't know. A certain individual who I probably should leave on. No. Mr. Kasperzik began with kind of kidding around with, you know, a little bit more than a scan tool that the school district would pay for. And well, you know, I tried to tell Mr. Kasperzik that that's what we had agreed to in previous meetings. It then went on further that, and I got the distinct impression that Mr. Kasperzik was not kidding, but he's looking for us to buy all the equipment.
Okay.
And at that point, I would be out. Because I do not want to buy all the equipment. It's approximately, you know, $15,000 to $16,000, but I don't think that's a good idea for us.
Who would it be servicing? If we bought all the equipment, it would be all the town vehicles too, right?
Well, all the buses plus all the town
Plus all the
vehicles.
town, but we,
I just don't think, you know, because the town's not really sold on this whole idea either.
Well, I certainly wouldn't buy any of that until we had an absolute commitment from the selectmen that this is what they were going to do.
Well, absolutely, because, I mean, if that doesn't tie them into anything.
Right. We need to have some type of commitment.
Absolutely,
This is going
because
to
I
go
would
forward.
not. And like I said, I think he was serious at the end of it. Because he was, well, you guys have the money in your budget now.
Well, I thought they were putting money in their budget for some of this stuff.
You know, you have to, whatever.
Okay. So the next meeting's March 5th. And
Yeah.
what is the board's feeling on that? We originally felt that the scan tool was something that was necessary.
Although I will say, Judy, that they actually felt that we wouldn't, they could actually get by without a scan tool to stop.
Okay.
But, you know, it would be needed at some point.
Yeah.
How often do we use that scan tool, and how much would we be saving?
You can't say how often, it's when, something, the check engine light.
Well, the other part of this
Well, how
is
much would
that
save
we're
us,
not
though?
going to be paying any labor either. If we
Well,
end up going for this, we're not,
That
then
was it.
we'd be saving money on labor. So we should participate in some of the costs of the equipment.
Right.
But I don't think we should, all of it, but part of
No.
it I think we should
Well, that's
participate in.
what he said, that they're paying for the labor, so he felt it would be, that we should buy all the equipment, but there's no way.
Well, I wouldn't agree with paying for the lift, because the lift is something we're never going to use. That's for,
The cruises.
yeah, and small trucks and stuff.
Right.
They can't lift a bus with a 12,000-pound lift, so it doesn't make
No.
any sense for us to be.
I mean, they could use it for the, the minivan
Yeah,
and the
yeah, that's true.
van. But that,
Well, how much would be just the lift? I mean, how much of that savings if we
the,
decide?
the lift is about $4,000. I tried to calculate it out. I mean, it's for oil changes on the big buses, and I believe, if my recollection serves me, it's about $400 for an oil change we're paying. So at $400 an oil change, and I factored it in at $30 for an oil filter, and 85 oil changes, we would, and 85 oil, we would save $8,145.84 a year just on oil changes. Can we save money? I believe so, but I do have an issue with the school purchasing all the equipment.
What about if we
And I would not support that. I mean, could we maybe do a little bit more than, possibly, but I would want a firm commitment.
What about everything but the lift and with the firm commitment? Does that sound reasonable with the amount of money we'd be saving?
Well, I'd like to go back to this March meeting and see how much each one of these things cost, and if the board's willing to pay for some of these things, maybe we can negotiate what we're willing to pay for.
Right.
But you need a contract from the town in the beginning before any of this.
Right,
can
we
be
need some type
contemplated.
of
Ironclad
memorandum
contract
of
with
understanding,
an addendum
I
that
think is
describes
what
the
we need.
individual duties and the individual
No, I think
parts.
rather than the memorandum, I'd go with the contract.
I mean, it's $4,000 for the left. It's between 20. One place had the scan tool for $2,600. Napa's got it for $2,780. So either 26 or 28. They were hoping to get Napa to match the $2,600 price, because Napa is local, and $4,000 for the tire machine. So that's 8. 10, 8. So you're looking at
The oil pump.
the oil pump is about probably $5,000. That sounds like a
Well, we'll
lot.
get some definite numbers and.
Well, those are the definite numbers that I just gave on the things. The only one he didn't actually give was the oil pump, but the total was
16.
Snell's was $12,317. Napa was $11,350 without the tire machine and balancer. And he said it was $4,000 for the tire machine and balancer. So that, there's your 15, between 15 and 16,000.
I think the tire machine and balance wouldn't work on the buses either, right? The tires are too big, you were saying?
Well, yeah, the regular, the big bus tires, they have to all be done by hand.
Right.
So that the tire machine and balancer, he said those are actually for 16-inch rims and smaller.
So we wouldn't really use
So
much
the
of that.
small buses and the vans?
And
we
the
can-
van.
Small
that'd
buses
be
and the vans.
They'd be able to use the car. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. While we're still in committee, would it be possible to get a complete list of all the committees?
I think Viv asked
I
for
already
that
asked
this
that.
week,
That
too.
we should have a complete list of
Yeah,
all
there's a couple
committees,
people out
all
this
committee
week trying
members,
to
and what the
figure out
committee's
who's on
supposed to be doing.
The number of people out this week who are chairing the committees, so.
Yeah, can we get a complete list?
That's
Do you
that's what's
want
working.
school board committees, or do you want school committees? Because the school has committees that some of them, there aren't board members on.
Well, no,
Or do you want the board committees? The ones the board participates in?
Right.
We'll work on another one with Viv anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked that too, to know who to call.
Oh, you have your own private list?
You say it like that, Steve, it's a bad thing.
Well, like there's the report, Steve, there's the report card committee.
Right.
We
Right.
don't-
There are a number of committees in
there's
the building that you guys are involved in. But
Right.
individual,
Right.
okay.
I think you have representation on most of them.
Most of them we do, but there's some that we don't.
Judy, I have a
Well,
question
I'm
for you
working
for
on
the
that right
delivery
now. I asked
session.
before the other day.
Currently, in the operating budget, the SAU is included, but it's a separate warrant article, and I don't want to cause confusion at the delivery session. Do you want me to pull the SAU out of their operating budget?
We already did.
No, I'm talking about the printed budget, right, has the SAU in it. It's not in the default budget, but it's in the regular operating budget. It always has been,
You mean in the paper,
the paper.
not the warrant article?
No, not a warrant article.
The
that's
warrant
what-
article's separate.
Right.
The
It was always-
moderator will go by the warrant articles. He'll go down by the warrant articles, and when he comes to there'll be the SAU one, and then there'll be the school one. But you're talking about the actual budget handout, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you better take it out. That would be my thought, otherwise it could be confusing. What are we doing for handouts for deliberative session?
I was gonna make a copy of the operating budget, default budget for Wakefield, and the operating and default budget for the SAU,
And the warrant articles?
and the warrant articles.
Okay. What about the teachers and the para contract?
So we had talked about that, you were going to let me know what you wanted to do on that, because the summary you gave to the budget committee is too cumbersome to hand out at the deliberative session.
Yeah, that's a lot of pages. We'll go with the warrant article. I'll just explain all I have to explain is the cost item part of it, right? I don't have to explain all the word changes, or unless it affects money,
Right.
right? I mean, if an apostrophe was moved in that, I don't need to, or if a word was changed. Okay. Anything else for school board business or committee reports?
Can I just ask a question? We talked about the buses and the damage to the buses. I don't know if you want to put this on the next agenda or not. We talked about the money that we were spending for that tape to repair the seats. We had asked that the bus drivers inspect the bus after every run, and if there was, so that way they could see if there was damage, because we've had so much damage, and no one is being held accountable. And if there was damage, they could go back and they would know basically who was sitting in that area, to try to get some reimbursement for the damages for the seats that are cut up. Are we doing that? Because I see we're buying tape to fix seats, but...
Right, I have directed for that to be done, and have it on my list to follow up and find out whether or not anybody has been identified as perpetrating against our seats yet.
Yeah,
But
it's an
yeah,
expensive
Well,
tape.
obviously, if we're buying the
We're buying
tape
tape
again, it
at
must,
$36.
they must need it for a reason.
Well, the question is whether or not the process that I asked to have implemented
Right.
was able to identify who did it. That's the question.
What I'm worried about is we're going to be ordering 3 new buses this year, and I hate to see 3 new buses end up with cut-up seats.
You're not going to catch them all the time, but there's no reason to not catch a significant amount of the time. When you've got videotape on the buses, it shouldn't be that difficult.
Can I just say, remember how high those seats are? It's tough to see, looking at those videotapes, it's tough to see anything. Those new bus seats are so high, you can hardly see the top of the kid's head.
Right.
That's tough. I mean,
Well,
it's,
right, but that also is part of the reason why if the bus drivers are walking after each run.
I'm just throwing out there that the
Just kinda limit
videos
it.
may not really show us much, just given the height of the seats. I mean, those are safety issues also. The seat height.
But, to that point, I mean, if they do walk it after each run, they can go back and look and see which kid got up and out of the seat, and then
Yep.
catch it that way.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Comments by the public. Bonnie, I know you wanted to say something about school dismissal. You were raising your hand. I just wanted to try to get through. We had a long agenda. I was just trying to get through that.
I totally understand, and I just have a couple things that I would like to comment on. The first one is, when I taught in Rochester, we had a dismissal that we had to make eye contact. Like one car would pull up, you would walk the child to the car, and it took a while, but after a while, the parents just knew that that's the policy, and we were doing it to protect the kids.
Yep.
So it took a little longer, but it did work smoothly, and then that was the way to guarantee that you knew where all the kids were going and that they had left the premise with the proper party.
And I've done the same thing too, Bonnie. I was the concierge who opened every car door, put every child
Exactly.
in.
And
Got
that's
them
what
out of
you
the
do.
car, let them put them in the car every afternoon, every morning.
And that's just what we did for their protection at that
It
point
was
in time.
safety.
There were kidnappings going on, and you just had to make sure. Another question I have is in regards to the Spaulding survey that went out. Is Spaulding initiating the time setback, or is Wakefield suggesting?
It's actually the Rochester school, it's the Rochester School Board, which includes myself and Jay as Wakefield representatives, and we also have a student, Megan Haskell, who is our student rep for Wakefield.
Mhm.
They initiated it. It was their program. They're the ones that started it. And of course, where our students attend there.
Okay. I guess I have a concern because I do understand that Ms. Haskell is a freshman.
Yep.
That doesn't incorporate the young men and women that are part of the tech program and that drive themselves.
Okay.
And if you're looking at a young man in Wakefield that is in the tech program and utilizes other tech programs that are in Dover or other places, or has an internship after school,
Yeah.
that's from 3 to 6 or 3 to 9, that's gonna mess up everything that they've worked hard for their
Mhm.
whole high school career. And it's gonna actually set some of those children back. I understand that as a freshman, you have one idea of what time you'd like to start school, but we're also preparing them to be positive adults in the same process. And that means that you have to get up early and you have to go to work.
Right.
And you may not wanna get out of bed, but you can train yourself and decide to work second shift or start a job that's 10 to 6. But usually in the trades, you're in at the crack of dawn and you're out at 3, at least in the situation of the group of young men that are juniors and seniors that participate in our family dinners.
Mhm.
And I do have to say that the rumors going around the building definitely sabotaged the responses that you got from those young men and women in that building, because they were horrified that their senior year, they were gonna be pulled away from everything that they had worked so hard for, and that they weren't gonna accomplish the electrical internships, the plumbing, the HAVAC. It really made an impact on how they wrote what that was. And I didn't think that that was fair, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that there was a huge set of kids that weren't included, and the ones that drive. I mean, we have more kids that drive than probably take the bus, and it's because they have after-school jobs. And if you move school back, then it's also gonna impact their jobs and the times that they can start, and I would encourage the district to look at all of that information.
I think they are,
That's
because
what
I
we
know
are
they
doing.
did, there was an article in the paper that
Right.
they had spoken to the director of the VOC program
Mhm.
Specifically about those things and how it would impact the kids in that program.
And also
So I
Yes,
think they're
sports.
going to take that in
Also
to
the
consideration.
sports, and there would be arrangements made for those students, because they have they talked about a large golf program.
Well, my son is a varsity golf player. I'm in Rochester at 6 o'clock in the morning, almost every day in the summer. And to go, when he does his meets, he's not home until 10 or 11 o'clock, but he's leaving at 2:30. I mean, it's not a fast game. And, well, it can be.
Actually,
you know,
was actually brought up.
I wonder, and I don't want to encourage him to take a study hall D block because, please don't take a topic that's going to, you're going to have to require a lot of seat time because you're not going to have it. But I don't want to encourage that. I want him to have a full schedule, and if it means, I wouldn't want to have to make that decision because it's like, is it golf scholarship and tech scholarship or is it none because you have to work?
I guess as a parent, I'd like to ask you, because one thing that Jay and I, we tried and we weren't getting any responses, was that was your son able to go on Infinite Campus? Because what we're told is that all the students were asked to take this survey on Infinite Campus.
They did.
And obviously we don't have it here, but then we were told after that it was sabotaged because of the rumor.
We did.
And so we did address that, but they did talk about the sports programs and that they would be able to make some arrangements that would not have an impact. They also talked about the impact on families if you have jobs, and they were asking for responses from parents. The other thing was that they also talked about the possibility of flexible schedules in order to accommodate the children that may have responsibilities after school. Some take care of younger siblings.
Some have to work.
Exactly. Some work, some have other commitments as well. So that was all part of that survey, and we understand now that obviously that it's not a true survey as far as Wakefield students. So this one going home with the Paul School hopefully will give us some feedback here, but I'm wondering whether or not we should bring it to the next ad hoc committee meeting and, see if.
Well, I think all of those items have been addressed, and they are open meetings, and there have been members of the public that attend, and what the group is looking at is they're looking at the greatest benefit for all with the least disruption to the few. And that's why the survey is written the way it is. It asks, one of the questions is, how difficult would this change be for your family? Would it, because someone might say they would prefer to stay with the current schedule, but it's not really going to be a difficult change, it's just a preference. Somebody else might say, I'd like to have it stay the same. It would be a serious disruption to our family. And then all of that is going to be gathered and taken into consideration. This is a decision that if it were to take place, would take place 2 years from now, is the timeline that they've talked about, because this is not a decision that I think the ad hoc committee is close to reporting back to the Rochester Board on. This is our second set of surveys, and there's going to be a lot of ongoing work before any recommendation goes back to the Rochester Board.
We're talking about 30 minutes,
30 minutes may not, to me 30 minutes doesn't seem like a lot in the morning,
Right.
but 30 minutes at night when they've left the house at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, but they're not getting home because they're a half hour later.
Right.
And, it pushes everything back because not only are your high school kids getting home later, but then you also have your elementary kids who are getting home later. And I have also read studies on, and my first question was, well, are they swapping the middle school and the elementary school, or the elementary school? The kids are up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, at least when my kids were little, they were bouncing around at 6 o'clock ready for Play-Doh and ready to be cutting shapes and scissors and reading, and, they were ready. I wasn't ready, but they were ready. And I asked, are they switching those back and forth and implementing an earlier, and then I was like, well, are they implementing an after-school program for these children? These are things that I'm just, after going to Infinite Campus, filling it out, I just wanted you to be aware when you go back to this meeting, and I will absolutely, make a point for my son and his core group of friends to go, but that it was kind of tainted a little bit, because they were so horrified that their senior year was going to be disrupted, and everything that they had, geared their high school career to might have been affected, and they were like, okay, do I have to transfer to Kingswood now so that I can stay in the program I have? Are the credits going to go? Do I have to go to Dover? And they drive and they have jobs, and they're like, well, what do I tell my boss if I can't do my shift? And I'm like, well, I don't know how many high school kids work full-time, or work what they consider full-time, but the majority of them do because they like money, or cars, or clothes, or whatever they you
Well, I
know.
was asked by a parent to please say it again on camera. I'm saying it again on camera. Jay has said it.
Yep.
No way, no how is that rumor true. We never, ever said we were pulling all our students out of Spaulding High School if in fact there was any time change. So I'm saying it one more time, and parents, please, you know, Jay and I go there and we're trying our best to.
Can you tell us when the next meeting is and where?
Absolutely, March 26th. Yep, and the public is welcome, and, you know, Wakefield parents, if you can come down, please do. If you can't, send something to Jay or I that we can bring to this meeting and read it for you and bring it.
Are they is it at the school?
It's
It is-
5 o'clock in the Rochester boardroom.
The boardroom, it's the rec center.
Yeah.
Do they have a public comment section?
They do. Yeah, because we have members of the public there.
That's
Yes,
great.
they
I'm
do.
sorry to take up so much time.
No, this
Oh.
is definitely a concern for all
I
of us.
thought of one more thing. Could you do to get to the kids that are in the district, could you do an alert now if the deliberative session gets moved? That would get out to a core group of people
That's
that
a
might
good
go.
idea. Yeah.
If
So-
somebody's here,
I can do that.
I don't know if you can do it from.
We can do it remotely.
I don't know if you can do it remotely or if you have to be in
We
the
can, no,
building.
we can do it.
Oh, okay.
That
I don't come into work at 4:30 to do it.
No, between that and having that band across like WMUR, that would be perfect.
Or I'll be working there tomorrow.
And then the alert now, I think that would reach quite a few people. That'd be perfect.
Any other comments from the public? Is there a motion to go into non-public?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Cedar Line.
Thank you.
Thank you.